Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Agenda Podcast UK. I'm delighted to introduce our first two very special guests, Chris and Sean O'Leary from the Big Apple, New York, in the US of A. Chris O'Leary is a comedian, comedy writer, fine art painter, contact abductee, UAP, and non-human beings. Chris is a straight talker, so hold on tight. Sean O'Leary is a retired New York police officer and he's also an abductee. The accounts of his abductions are fascinating. Their family's encounters began in 1959 when their mother was taken in broad daylight by a silent triangular craft, marking the start of decades of unusual experiences. An event that had a very large impact on the brothers occurred on August 19th, 1996, when a craft materialised above their home in broad daylight. Things would change forever for these brothers. Chris, Sean, welcome to the very first show and being the very first guests.
Alex, it's our pleasure, our honor to be your very first guest. A little point of business, the check still hasn't cleared. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's to do with the snow. We've got quite a lot of snow in the UK at the moment, so...
Say no more. We're glad to be here, and you know what? You, young man, are off to a great start. You are not starting with some guest who's filled with descriptions of aliens made of love and light, here to enlighten us. And you won't really hear the word consciousness or manifesting or summoning. I guess you just did. But other than that one spot, you're not going to hear any of the trite cliches that have suddenly taken over the discussion. We are old school, and we're old.
I've got to be honest. That's exactly why I wanted to speak to you both. You know, there's no beating around the bush. Good old New Yorkers, you know how to talk straight, and that's exactly what I want to hear. Yeah. Okay, then. So carry on, Chris. What was you saying?
I was going to say something real New Yorkerish. Yeah, you damn right. Straight talkers, you got a problem with that? You got a problem with the truth?
You got a problem?
You and me outside right now. And we are not.
That's it. That's perfect.
And I watched the brand.
And I'm being British. I'll just say after you.
Right.
Okay, so let's get into it. How did this all start?
Well, I mean, do you want incident or?
Yeah,
yes,
that's
please.
where, to our knowledge, before we were born in 1959. And we know about it because of our grandparents would always tell us about it. In the 1970s, 1980s, even though we were at the height of our abductions and frequency of abductions, we were fully shut off from that. So if somebody started talking about UFOs, we didn't really care. Right? We're like, oh. But whenever there would be a news report on a UFO sighting in the 70s or 80s, and we were at my grandparents' house, they would go, oh, look at that. See, just like Roseanne said, you know, your mother, she was taken up in one of them, she said. Yeah, isn't that neat? And that was their attitude. It was like, oh, yeah, wow, that happened, without really giving any thought to what it means.
Yeah, the weight of it.
Yeah, or if it was the only time.
Yeah.
And I seriously doubt it was.
Yeah.
This was just the one time that my grandparents, who were unconnected to the abduction, were aware of it, because Mom, she was 12 years old. She had just gotten a poodle skirt. A poodle skirt was a really big thing in the 50s. It was a skirt with like a decal of an actual poodle sewed on it with a leash. And when you put your pocket in the leash put your hand in the pocket like you were holding the leash. It was adorable. On top of that, my family had a poodle, a full-size king poodle. His name was Jet. He was a fine dog. So she's walking in her proud new poodle skirt, walking her poodle, and she was only a couple of blocks from home. And it was a new development being built, beautiful suburban section of Saratoga Springs. And all of a sudden, it was a bright sunny day, and all of a sudden there was a big shadow on her. It had gotten dark, and she looked down at the ground, and she saw a shadow in the shape of a triangle. Had a point up front, and the two extreme points, they covered the whole road and parts of the lawns of the homes. And she looked up, and there above her head was a graphite gray triangle craft.
What?
And early on, we never pressed for details, but once we recovered our memories in 1996, we were very much into unearthing all the things that we already knew about their involvement with our family. So we pressed her
I
for
bet.
details. And she had to say it was metallic. It was a dark gray, like the lead of a pencil. It wasn't one whole seamless object. She said there were seams and sections to it, and that there were three
Wow.
circles at the corners, which she thought might be for lights, but the lights weren't on. It was in the middle of the afternoon. And in the center of the craft, as she's looking up, she said it was so low that if she had a step ladder, she probably could have climbed it and touched it. What struck her as most interesting about it was that it made no sound. It wasn't there, and then it was. And she was puzzled by how it was staying in the air. She didn't hear any motor noises. These are her recollections from when she was 12. She saw no propellers, no hum of an engine, none of the displaced air that comes with a jet vehicle or a hovercraft or a helicopter. It was just there. And just directly above her, maybe 20 feet in the air. And she's looking up at it, and she noticed in the center was a black rectangle, and the rest of the craft was gray, but this was intensely black. And she realized it was an opening. It was an open hatch. And she stared into the blackness. And the next thing the next thing she knew, it was night. It was nighttime. And she was in just about the same spot. Not exactly, but within 20 or 30 feet of it. And then she noticed that the dog was gone. She didn't have the dog. So she's really out of it, and she staggers home, which was only 2 blocks away. And when she got there, her parents were getting in the car. They were in a panicked state. They were going to look for her, and if they couldn't find her, they were going to the police. They had every confidence in her. It was late afternoon. They figured she went to a friend's house. She's a good girl. Never gets in any trouble. She never lies. She never does anything wrong. So they overlooked it, and then dinner came. She didn't show up. So they started calling her friends. Have you seen Roseanne? And all of them said no. And just then, the dog was at the door. The dog had come back on his own. And that's when they panicked that something had happened to her. She wouldn't,
Yeah.
it's 3 hours later, it's dark, and there's the dog. So when she comes up the driveway to him, where were you? What happened? Where were you? And she told them
Yeah.
everything she remembered. So for the rest of our lives, whenever the UFOs got mentioned and my grandparents were there, they'd say, "Oh, just like Roseanne." See? So that's where it started for us. But
And the thing is, your mum wouldn't have known a thing about what was happening, would she? Did they block your mum's memory the same as they did with you guys?
well, she remembered this incident, but not what happened aboard the craft. None of that. She remembers seeing it,
Yeah.
and then she remembered night and the dog is missing. And if it wasn't for the involvement of our grandparents, I seriously doubt she would have held on to that memory over the years. They have a way of making your memories fade if they don't directly cover them. And they covered whatever they did to her. But it was a rather jarring way to go about it. They're not always the most tactful beings. You're going to take a 12-year-old girl and then drop her off in the dark without the dog. People are going to notice. But it was pretty early on.
They don't seem to be too worried, do they?
They're strange creatures. They're brilliant beyond comprehension, but at the same time,
They can really do some dumb things.
they can be quite stupid in some ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're complicated.
They can make mistakes. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. And we're proof of that.
Well,
If it wasn't
I
for-
mean, you are proof of that, and we'll get to that. What I was going to say is, it seems from what I've been reading that they tend to choose a family bloodline and stick with it. That must be something to do with hybridization. What's your thoughts on that, Chris?
I think that's a pretty true statement. I do. I mean, we've both been introduced to hybrid children from us.
Yeah.
And following through the
You
bloodline,
both have.
yeah, right, Sean?
I was introduced to somebody who could have been hybrids. Nobody said they were mine. Nobody said they were hybrids. But, they fit the description of hybrids. And there were 4 or 5 of them. It was just an introduction.
And they came down and thanked you, right? So
Can you just describe them a bit, Sean or Chris? Just describe what they were like.
Well, they were timid and quiet, except for one of them. It was the one that I met. The ones that I met. And they looked a little bit different, They did have a little bit of hair on them, but not much.
what color were they? What color was their flesh?
I would say they had a similar flesh tone of maybe a little more tan than straight up,
And how tall?
for me to say.
You were a young John.
Yeah, I was young.
And they came down and they removed your wall, correct? The entire wall from the house in your room. And that's when they brought down.
Yeah, they were there. I don't know if they came down or what they did with them. They were just there.
All right. Okay.
So they can manipulate matter by the look of it to be able to just move objects that, are solid to us. They can just get through them.
Yeah, and not only themselves get through them, but they can put you through them. And they've done that many times, going through the windows or the walls. I'm sure they do it with all abductees. And they also like to teleport into the house every so often. And they've done that with me.
Or out of the house.
They are well ahead of us.
Yeah, that's true. They must have teleported out of the house that time as well.
Wow.
Yeah, but they can.
I mean,
They walked me through. We had a front door that was, a 3 or 4 inch thick mahogany door, not like a hollow door. And when they were taking me out, they're marching right to the door, and I'm like, it's closed. The door's shut, and we just went through it. And I remember the sensation. Like, I closed my eyes because I didn't even want to know what that looked like, and it felt to me like going through clay. I mean, you could feel it like slowing you down as you piece by piece passed through it. It wasn't like it was just not there. It was a substance we were going through, like hanging up a little bit on it as we went through.
yeah.
See, I don't ever remember feeling going through it, but I've been through the wall multiple times. But I don't have any memory of what it felt like or looked like.
I'm glad
It's difficult for somebody like me to comprehend what you're saying. This is why I was so pleased that you've come on the podcast to satisfy my curiosity and my questions, as well as people watching this podcast. I never see interviewers asking good, honest questions. And hearing stuff like that, I mean, that is just absolutely amazing. And you're changing my view of it already, of abductions already. And we're only a few minutes into the podcast. You
Well,
know,
that's great. Glad to help. We do this because we have to. With what we know, if we'd never told, I don't want to go to the other
yeah,
side when I could have maybe done something. We could have changed the trajectory. Sean, tell them about the time
yeah.
it came through the roof, the face, and you were hiding in the attic, your mom. So they can go through anything.
Yeah, they, you saw him go up through the ceiling.
I did.
I was up hiding with my mother, and he just came right down through the roof. And this was my first meeting with the aliens that I can remember anyway. I was probably 4 years old or close to it. And I didn't know enough to be scared. I didn't have a grasp of the situation. I just knew my mother panicked, ran upstairs. I went up to find her. She was hiding in like an attic crawl space.
My family was hiding in an attic, like Anne
Right.
Frank. But of course, it worked out a lot better for us. But it was repeated again and again. My mother was screaming in terror, and they're hiding up there. And the alien comes down through the roof. What did he say to you?
In a real whispery voice, like it's a horror movie, says, "You can't hide from us." So, and like I said, I was a child, so I didn't know, didn't know enough to even be afraid.
It sounds pretty ominous. It sounds like there's a lot of intimidation or threat to that. You could have said, "Hey, found you," but you can't hide from us. That's par for the course.
Sounds like there's not a lot of love there, is there really, for us?
Well, I will say I've had different experiences, as we went along that were kind of got to know them as a kid. They would come so frequently. And I must have been like their dream abductee who was actually glad to see them and would greet them when they would come in and talk to them and have conversations and ask them questions. And I even, at one point early on, the worst part of it for me was the paralyzation. And as a kid, I called it freezing. So I negotiated a deal with them. I said, "Could you not freeze me anymore?" And they said, "So long as you do what you're told, we won't." And they were true to their word, and they would just come and get me, and I would get up and I would go with them, and they wouldn't paralyze me.
How long did they stick to your agreement?
Up until recently.
So your whole life, basically.
Yeah.
So they are complicated. They're not cruel, drooling beasts, demons clicking their claws and
Are they
gnashing
quite
their teeth.
manipulative, Chris?
What's that?
Are they quite manipulative?
Oh my God, they're more manipulative than a girlfriend or a wife. They're very manipulative. That's what they get what they want. And geez, I don't know if you really call it manipulation because they're not trying to convince you. Oh, come on. Don't you want to take a ride in a spaceship? Come on. We've got snacks. We've got juice box. Let's go.
Right.
No, they do. They don't have time for that nonsense. As soon as they're within range of you. Well, Sean is a different case, and they liked Sean, and Sean had abilities that I certainly did not. We're in agreement on most of this, but we were treated very differently, and Sean really had what they were looking for. But as soon as they get within distance,
Do you think
they take over your mind rather than manipulate you? They simply change your mind, and they turn you into a cooperative zombie slave, and you do as you're told. They make you think they're your best friends. I'm like, "Oh, you guys. Yeah. How could I forget you guys? You're great. What are we doing today? Let's go. We got TikTok. Let's get on that ship. We got things to do." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course. Let's go." I'm a little ashamed of how easy it was for them to take over my mind. And then when, they bring you back, they cover your memories. So you can't, run to the police. And then so every time they come back for you initially, it's a shock. What the hell are these things?
It's like the first time.
It's a reverse Groundhog Day.
It's like
You live it
Yeah.
over and over, and it's always a shock until they get close enough. You remember us? Come on. How many of you remember us? And what they did when they were close is they released the hold. And you're like, oh, how could I forget you guys? And what they also did was, if you can hear it, they removed my anger and fear and reason, and they leave me apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry. How could I forget you guys? Man, what's wrong with me? And they'll say something like, nah, don't worry about it. It's okay. When they're the ones who made sure I didn't remember them until they allowed it.
Yeah.
But one question is, why did they allow you to remember when they come back? And I just have a couple of theories. Is so that you know that they are not going to kill you. Because you're just, there they are, and you don't know who they are. What? It's a spaceship with aliens that look like pretty monstrous, really. And immediately now, you know they're not going to kill you. They're going to do stuff with you. And the reason I think they release all the memories is so A, you don't ask the same stupid questions every time. And B, you get a good overview of what's expected of you, of the kind of things you're going to be doing together. And a lot of it is not horrific at all. A lot of it is like, medical things. Some of them are on the table, right? You've been on the table?
I honestly don't even remember being on the table, but I I always had a problem with the dentist chair, and I've heard other abductees
Yeah.
mention the dentist chair being a real problem.
Yeah. What happened when you?
I really didn't like it. It bothered me.
Yeah. I told you the first time Mom took me to the dentist, everything's fine, whatever. You opened the door. It was like, it was this reclined chair with a big bright light over it and tools in a tray that's next to it. Aliens, same tool, not the same tools, but the same thing. They're in a metal tray and then with an arm that swings. And I saw it and I screamed. And Mom just, she didn't have it easy. She's like, stop it. This is what she said to me. Stop it. This is not them. It's people.
Talk about reinforcing.
The only difference between that and the inside of a ship was the 1970s plywood walls that went all the way around the dentist room. So
is your mum still alive, or is your mum passed?
Mom passed away June 1st, 2012.
I'm sorry about that, guys. It's I lost my mum only 3 years ago, and it is the most difficult thing. I still want to call her all the time.
Yeah, we're still in that position, so it's like, oh, I gotta tell Mom, or I got a question for her. It's like,
that's right. Yeah,
we've been how many years?
It's such a hole, isn't it, when you lose them?
It's like the aliens cut you open and removed all your internal organs. You just feel this emptiness, and people always have advice for you. And one person said to me, everyone's coming up, oh, she's in heaven, this is a thing, and it's all for part. He said, don't listen to anybody. This sucks. It's awful. There is no bright side to it, so don't listen to them. And he said, this isn't something you get over. It's something you get through. All right?
Yeah. Amen.
Sorry about your mom.
Yeah, sorry about your loss.
Do you still have your dad?
Yeah, thanks, guys. My dad is super excited, actually, about me being on the podcast with you two.
Yeah? What's his name?
He's 83 years old. His name's John.
John. Hey, over here, John. On the screen. Hi. Your son, be
That's
very
great.
Doing something important.
Yeah, he knows that, and he knows that because this is the awareness. All of a sudden, it's like you wake up and you realise that they're here. That we've been lied to for 80 years, and they are here. Listening to you two, I am completely confident that you're telling me the absolute truth. I'm completely confident. I
Well-
would not doubt you at all. You've no need to do any of that rubbish.
Well, our goal is to make sure you believe us 100%, and then we will ask for your bank account number. We build trust, and when we empty the bank account, and then we blame it on the guys. It
Sean,
wasn't
how
me.
do you how do you put up with him?
It's not easy.
It's to be honest, I think I'm more bothered by the people who give us a hard time and want to get into arguments. Bothers me much more than what the aliens did. Now, since I didn't recover my memories till 96, and pretty much the same for Sean, it was that one incident. People are like, do you have PTSD? Are you traumatized and all that? It's like, it happened so long ago. I mean, that complete record of events is now mine.
Can you talk us through? Can you talk us through the 96 incident, Chris?
We will. It's like if you fell out of a tree at 10 and you broke your arm and it was in a cast for months and it was the worst damage you suffered as a childhood. You remember you broke your arm, you remember it hurt, but you're not traumatized by it after, decades of your life and you're a grown up. It happened to you and you can remember how it felt. You can remember all the details. We have a lot of details, but there's enough of a distance between you and it where you're not, oh my God, give me a psychiatrist. And another thing is, sorry, Sean, is that you're sedated during all these to some degree or another. You're not, I'm sure they went easier on Sean than me because he was.
I think it would have been more traumatic if my memories were more traumatic, like horrible things happening to me. Yeah, I've heard other horror stories from other abductees. Mine aren't like that, fortunately. I'm not saying nothing terrible's happened to me. I just don't remember that part. I only remember a fraction of the times with them, and is usually coming or going or something exciting happening while with them that I recall. So I think if I remember them doing horrible things to me, it might be a lot worse for me. And it just isn't.
Even I was treated worse than him, but only marginally. There was, a man just threatened to kill my dog and my parents, but the tall grays, short grays, the only things that were painful there were a couple procedures where I was unconscious and the pain was so intense that I woke up. And
Wow.
I witnessed them. One, they were putting a probe in my nose and it was.
I've heard this. They just push it straight in, don't they?
Yes.
This one, they didn't even take me away. Okay. This was 1969. And it was a couple months before the moon landing because I remember.
Yeah.
I come to in my room, in my bedroom, in this little chair I have because I was 5, going on 6. And I come to, I'm awake by blinding pain. And I look and there's 3 of these things, the tall ones. And I'm probably 3 feet tall and they're 7. And they're leaning over me in my little chair doing this. 2 of them are doing an operation. They're putting something horribly large and painful into my nose. And since they're looking right at my face, one goes, he's up. This one's up. They never go, hey, Chris is up. It's always like this one. And so one of the 3 comes over and he didn't put me unconscious, but he made in the zone where you weren't hurting. Okay. And they finish putting the probe in my nose and they just turn and they're walking out of the room. They're walking away like surgeons we're done. And one of them, the last one in line, is in the chair just watching them leave. He stops in the doorway and he turns around and goes, oh, don't try and take that out of there because you could kill yourself. And then he turns back and walks out. How's that for a bedside manner?
My gosh.
You're telling a 5-year-old not to put his finger in his nose?
Has that ever been seen, Chris? When you've had x-rays at the hospital? Have
No.
they actually seen it?
No, but I didn't have an X-ray till like 2002 when I had a car accident. I'm sure they removed it or moved it or something like that.
I think they like to put them in the rear sinus, and my sinus specialist, because I've had trouble with my sinuses, he says no doctors will touch the rear sinus because it's too close to the artery and it could kill you. And hence the insurance company won't authorize even x-rays of that area. When they ask for an x-ray, they get a very specific part of the sinus. They don't just get like everything.
Yeah.
So, that could be part of it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. And another thing is, I believe that some people have had implants taken out. I do. But these things are really good at not giving you proof or evidence. I mean, sure, they've
Yeah.
screwed up, but they're not going to like leave a sponge in you, and stitch you back up and then you
Yeah.
take it up.
Yeah.
It says, Alien Hospital number 41. So I believe it, but for some reason, all the people want in previous decades, I've been doing this for 30 years, talking about it. We've been talking about it. Sean didn't come fully forward. He had obligations where he could not. But we've both been pressing to get the details out there. But all people really want, get that implant and it'll be proof. Find me proof. Steal an ashtray from their ship. Do you have any radiation burns? Do you have this? Do you have that? All they, and it,
It's much more nuanced, isn't it? Much more complicated than, like you said, here's an ashtray from the ship. They're very clever at covering their tracks by the sounds of things.
the bottom line is this. For the first time, scientists and researchers are trying to investigate something that is a hell of a lot smarter than they are.
That's right.
Scientists, you're not going to set up a trail cam. The aliens are going to step
Yeah.
on it. Whoa, they got pictures of us. They
Yeah.
know everything. And they're
Yeah.
aware of everything, and you can't. They're not going to give you. I know recently on X, I have never seen more phony photos and videos of grays in my life.
Yeah.
I think AI has a lot to do with it. And they're like, this has never been released. Look at these two grays. Are they grays? They look like they're made out of bubble gum or.
Well, do you know what, Chris? I was going through X and I saw that post that you commented on, and
Which one?
I saw the guy's reply to you when you said to him, "Let me tell you now, I'm an abductee with over 100 abductions, and that is not the real thing. That is fake." And he came back with some witty comment to you, or nasty comment, and I wrote underneath, "I know who you are." Because I'd seen you speaking with another podcast. I won't say the name.
Yeah. Well, they're mostly
And
juvenile.
people just don't realise.
They're children. And if they're not, and if they're full-grown adults, they're still children mentally. They keep, all they want is that really good picture of a gray, and whoa, now we know it's real. And then what?
Well,
why don't you
could you imagine if they were in your shoes?
Yeah. So I say to people, as a curse, I wish I could get on a ham radio, dial up the alien ship, and send them your coordinates. And you want proof? I would love to be able to send them to abduct you. And mostly I would target all these fake whistleblowers who we have to listen to, who know nothing. I don't care who you're talking about. Red, green. There's one we like. Who's the one we like? Yes, a Barber and Jeremy Corbell with his manscaped werewolf look, and he's all filled with rage. Where'd you get a roll? Grr. We're gonna get him.
Yeah, I can't speak for all of them, but like some of the disclosure people, I won't even name anybody. They're angry with the government, and they just don't know what we're angry that they're covering this up. We have no idea what's being covered up, but we know we should know.
Yeah,
I don't think so. The general public does not want the government to officially acknowledge what's going on.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Unless you're highly invested in security systems and weapons.
Yeah.
they're like,
Paul,
I pay taxes every time I buy a Milky Way. I demand to know. It's my knowledge too. And when did exactly did this mental illness among these troglodyte mouth breathers come to mean that the government cannot have any national security secrets? I hate to break it to all of them. You know, guess
I
what?
heard
You
Tim
are not
Burchett say,
entitled to the highest level of national security. I'm willing to bet
yeah,
that in World War II, they didn't look up your grandpop and call him up and say, "Hey, listen, it's top secret government. We're making a bomb out of atoms. I know, well, they're very small, yeah, but it's going to be really big, and we're going to take out the Japanese. But listen, top
Yeah.
secret. Don't tell anybody." Your grandmother's like, "Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I'll tell nobody." Honey, they're making atoms into, we're not entitled to it, especially
no,
something of this magnitude that will destroy this civilization that we cling to in about
it
2
will.
minutes. We might have lost civilization during COVID. We're still looking at the effect and invading Venezuela, you name it, storming the Capitol. I
It's
have a hard
crazy.
time thinking what would have happened if it wasn't for COVID. So a virus almost tipped this apple cart over. If the president
Yeah.
comes out, the reason they're clamoring for disclosure is because in their head, the disclosure will go something like this, right? It'll be like, "Oh, we're the government. We're keeping all this wonderful technology for ourselves. We're flying around in flying saucers, and the suckers are still paying energy bills." That's what they think disclosure is.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Trump's the man. He's going to come out and do the disclosure." Please, for the love of God, keep him as far away from this topic as you possibly can, because, no one would believe him anyway. But if he came out, held a press conference, and said, "Good news, the aliens are here," and they're big Trump fans. One of them came up to me, tall gray, big tall fella, and he had tears running down his lifeless, cold cheeks from his soulless, hypnotic eyes. He's like, "Mr. President, sir," and he's saying it telepathically, boys, loud and clear. "Mr. President, sir, we need your help. What can I do for you, boys?" He says, "We're trying to take over the United States." And he said, "I'm way ahead of you, boys. Just get in line." You cannot, it's the most irresponsible thing I could imagine for the government to say, "Well, if you really insist, aliens have been stealing families and children since before your
Wow.
grandparents
Yeah.
used. And they take your kids and they do God knows what to them, but they take them again and again and again. And eventually they use them for forced reproduction. They'll put a hybrid embryo into your 18-year-old daughter or your wife or your sister. Then they'll go
How many
retrieve it.
felonies do you think they're committing? How many felonies?
We actually,
on one visit.
that's it. Yeah. We're going to skip illegal parking and basic trespassing. We'll give them that. They
Yeah.
might not be able to read the
Yeah.
signs, but then you get into what? Home invasion,
kidnapping.
Yeah.
kidnapping.
10 years.
Yeah, or home invasion can be life if depending on the damage you cause to people during home invasion. Then
Yeah.
how about
Yeah.
human trafficking of minor children? And they're being trafficked way the hell out, right off the goddamn planet. Then you've got forced
Off the planet.
What's that? What'd you
Off
say?
the planet.
Yeah, off the planet. And they're like, "Oh, we're
Really?
in neutral planet." Rules don't apply if you're off the planet.
That's right. It's
Laws don't count. It's like we're at sea in a boat playing poker. You just can't do anything. Then you've got forced surgical procedures that no one asked for, medical procedures where they put you out and they do terrible things to you. Then you get into sexual abuse and sexual abuse of young people, let's say, forced reproduction. To be frank, even though it's done clinically, they're breeding us like livestock to
Yeah.
create hybrid beings that can live here and hide in plain sight and control us. It's a litany of felonies. And there's some things they do that aren't even illegal because we can't do them. What's the penalty for mind control? What's the penalty for literally going in your mind and removing everything they don't like about you and leaving you a walking, talking slave? And people have somehow convinced them. They showed up 80 years ago, right? Give or take, uninvited, unwelcome. And they've operated in complete secrecy for that entire time. And the abductions pile up. But there are the vast majority of the ufology field says they're good. They're here. When I say this, when we say this, they go, "Oh, you're pushing a fear narrative." Yeah, well, if you're swimming with and surrounded by sharks, I think a fear narrative is really the way to go.
Yeah.
Just don't say, "Oh, those are tiger sharks. They're all about love and light. They're here to raise your consciousness, or at least your awareness
Yeah.
of." There is nothing that they've done. Okay, if they're here to help, how come in the past 80 years since they showed up, absolutely everything in life has gotten considerably worse?
It
What,
has.
you don't really need help like that. And if they're beings of love and light, why do they steal your daughters in the dark?
Yeah.
And if they're all about raising your consciousness, how come the first thing they do when they get close to you is lower your consciousness? So you can't resist. You can't even think about resisting. These are bad dudes. Now, they can be very polite and they can be fond of us on an individual basis. But I think they're very loyal to the hierarchy and what their orders are. But they've been kind to me on several occasions, and you as well, right? So, but I think, they're taking our planet. So on the large scale, they're evil and awful. They're taking our
I
world.
was going to ask you that actually, Chris. Do you think this is a larger plan of taken over by stealth?
Well, that's my opinion. Yes, almost everything.
Let me just
Sure, yeah, I'm going to grab a glass of
I'm
wine.
going to say that I don't know what the agenda is. I don't know what they're doing. I know the specific details of some of the things they do, but I don't know why exactly they're doing it and what their plans are for the planet or for people or these hybrids. I don't know. If they've told me, they've covered up those memories. So I can't say for sure. I don't know where they're from, and I don't know what they're doing here.
And
Do
then
you
you don't know where
think
they're
that? Do you think that they've modified you, Sean? Because you said that they got you to do something for them. What was it you did?
Well, they'd like to, well, with me anyway, they would put me through some tests. A lot of them were mental tests. And this one particular test, and they also do not explain what this test is or what they want you to do. It's just, here you are, figure out what we want you to do, then figure out how to do it. So it's not easy. One time I was with another child and we had these objects in front of in front of us. We each had one. It was a stick, probably about 4 feet long, and at the end of it, on each side was a flame, a fire. Could it have been some electrical charge that looked like fire? It could have been like a taser type object. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
certain that real fire, but for me, it was fire. I was a child. I called it a fire stick, and it was spinning in the air off the ground in front of us like a wagon wheel. I have no idea what they wanted us to do. And at one point, behind each one of us was a tall gray. So I had one behind me, the other child off to my right had an alien standing behind him. And I had no idea what they wanted me to do with this thing. We're in a circular room, pretty good size. And all of a sudden this thing turned. So it was parallel to the ground like a helicopter blade and came at me and hit me in the side of the head, and it hurt. And the other kids didn't. So I asked the other kid, how do you do it? The alien behind it, the kid didn't respond, but the alien standing behind me touched me on the top of my head with his finger, and I felt an electric charge go into my brain. And it went straight down into like the center of my head, the small portion of my brain. And it felt like it was turned on for the first time in my life. It felt completely different. And all of a sudden, I could move this stick around the room, and I spun it around the room like a
What?
hoop. And
Really?
yeah, I mean, it was strange.
Do you think we're capable of things that we don't realize then, Sean?
We must, yeah, because I'm not anything special. I couldn't do it on my own, but when he awakened that portion of my brain or turned it on or whatever he did, jump started it. It was easy. I don't know how to explain it, but I did it easy. They stopped it in midair, and the one behind me got excited. I don't want to overhype his excitement, but he said to the other one, he said, I've never seen anything like it. This is what we've been doing this for the whole time. And the other one turned to face us, and he says, I know, but he's also telling that alien, he says, calm down. And that's all I remember of that incident.
Yeah.
You see, Sean is modest. These aliens activated something, and you said it was like a thin little sliver.
Yeah,
of
when it came down, imagine the thinnest straw you've ever, seen. It's not like one of the normal spoons for a soda you get at the fast food. A very narrow.
It didn't light up your whole head.
And I know your brain is alive, but it felt alive. It felt like it was his own.
This is the first time hearing that. That's a great detail. Wow.
And, it was just completely different.
And they activated him, and he was performing feats of psychokinesis, of telekinesis.
Wow.
I mean, and he's very humble about it. Let me tell you, if I was performing superhuman feats, things that humans can't do, I would be sitting next to every pretty girl in every bar and telling her, I'm kind of special.
Watch this.
I'm able to move things. And then she gets up and walks away, and I go, well, what's happened? You moved me. You moved me away. So this is Sean, and Sean had what they were looking for. If the one guy alien was hugely excited. I mean, they're not ones to get excited easily. And the other one had to calm him down. What do they say? This is what we've been
doing this for the whole time. So, which tells me they've been doing it with other people. Maybe they just.
And it tells me they did not get a lot of as positive results as you.
Of course, did they jumpstart everybody else though? Because if they hadn't done that to me, there's no way I would have been able to do it.
I'm sure they've tried. I mean, and that's not it for Sean. I mean, tell them the other experiment, test that they gave you. It's fascinating.
All right.
If you don't mind,
about the box.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, they had me in one of the ships, and they had me go into a room by myself, and they closed the door behind me, and it was a steel door or metal door. And though they didn't say it, I don't remember anybody saying this, but I was under the impression, I felt like they're not going to let me out until I figure out what they want me to do. They're not going to let me out of this room. And this room was different than all the other rooms. This room was lit up, not only from the ceiling, but the walls were lit, all just bright white, and even the floor, bright white light coming from it. It wasn't so bright that, it made it an issue to see, but it was.
Watch.
And when they put me in the room, there's like a window in the door, and you got three heads, vying for a spot to look into the window, and you hear two of them. One says, is he going to do it? And the other one said something just like that. Will he do it? The other one said, is he going to do it? And the third one says, real confidently, he'll do it. And I looked around the room. I took my time, and there was even like almost like a kitchenette area. I'm not saying there was a kitchen, but there's a fridge and a stove. But there was one little area in the room that was different. There was almost like a hallway. And I just peered into that. And then off to the left was a table. I don't know how big or whatever the table was, but on it there was a box. And somehow I knew they wanted me to turn the box inside out by just using my brain. And I stood there for a few minutes. I was trying to figure out how I was going to do it. How does it fold? How would it move? And I even just tried thinking it through, and it just didn't make sense to me. And then all of a sudden I realized what you have to do is you just separate the molecules of the sides, and you don't flip anything. You just kind of morph the molecules from the one side of from like the top, and bring them up through the other molecules. And all of a sudden the one side's on the inside and the inside's on the outside. You just do it with all of the sides instead of trying to
Yeah.
fold it. So that's what I
Right.
remember about that. And there was one time, I don't know if it was after either one of those events, where one of them took me to a school that was out in the woods, and I didn't know where we were going. And it looked like it was an old-fashioned schoolhouse that you'd see in Little House on the Prairie, which was an American show way back when.
I remember.
Okay. Well, yeah, like an 1800 schoolhouse here in, the States anyway. And I remember going to the side door, and there were a lot of kids in there, and they were rambunctious. That's what I remember. These kids are out of control, as if they were at a school with a substitute teacher. And the gray, was a tall gray, walking me in, introduced me to the teacher, who I believe was a female.
Female gray?
Yeah, the only female that I've ever seen, a female alien. And
Right, okay. So they're usually all males.
yeah, at least the ones we see,
I've only seen one female myself. Yeah.
How can you tell
and
the difference?
we're just going to explain. Yeah, it's a great question. It's not that we've seen any genitalia or anything. However, you just know that it's a male talking to you. First of all, they've got a male voice. Yeah, they each have kind of a separate voice. You can hear it. Like people say they use telepathy, which is right, but I would describe it as maybe listening to music through headphones rather than hearing it through speakers across the room. It's just directly in
Got
your
ya.
head, but you still hear
Yeah.
it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even though the process of speaking is pushing air past your teeth and your tongue in patterns to make sounds, it sounds like that in your head, but it's not. No one's in your ear going, "Hey." It's they're
It's
very
not
still.
physically happening.
Yeah, but it's still
Yeah.
it's not words that we're reading or thoughts. It's like somebody's talking to you.
And there's no electric sound to it, like Mr. Blue Sky, Mr. Blue Sky. You know what I mean? It's very much a natural voice
Yeah.
rather than any artifice or artificial sounds. They're remarkable at that. So, in school, you were saying,
Oh yeah. And once I figured out this was school, I was a kid and I didn't really enjoy going to school. And now they're waking me up in the middle of the night to bring me to another school. I said, but I already go to school, with a real attitude. And he looked down at me and he said, this is secret school. And so I sat down with him. He sat with me and we went through a class. And he said, if I don't like it, I don't have to come back.
really?
And I don't remember ever going back. But that doesn't mean I didn't, because there are so many incidents that I don't remember, only remember a small portion of.
Did they put you under special conditions to do the psychokinesis test? Or is that something that you could recreate back here?
No way. I couldn't do anything like that on my own. Like I say, if they didn't touch my head that one time, I wouldn't have even known what they wanted me to do.
But they were
So they're
certainly able.
making the conditions by putting the,
I believe
touching your
so,
head.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, they can
Yeah.
control your brain, and I've seen them use the touch to make people do different things too. Like my father make him stay asleep, and my mother make her stand up and walk to the window. I'm not saying they have to touch you, but what they did is they went over, one touched my father on the side of his head while he was sleeping and started to walk back. And I asked, is he coming with us? And he said, not this time. What if he wakes up? And he answered kind of bothered and extraordinarily confident. You've never heard anybody as confident when he said he won't. Like he knew my father wasn't going to wake up. And then he says to the other aliens there, he says, who is this kid to even question me?
Personally, that makes me laugh every time, because it's one of those things where you get glimpses into the complexity of these beings and their reactions, which are often quite emotional.
Yeah.
He said, are you sure he won't wake up? And the alien comes back like Tony Soprano. Who is this kid to question me? Oh, the Gungats on this guy.
And he didn't even say he
Yeah.
wasn't going to. I asked it first. Did you, like, I'm supposed to know that he touched him on the head, so he's not going to wake up. I'm a kid. And then he walked over and
So
touched
you're
my mom.
concerned your dad's going to wake up and wonder where you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really what's driving that question.
Yes.
And it sounds like they got quite upset by that.
I detect also, tell me if I'm wrong, Sean, he was a little bit amused by you and impressed of your strength to push your point. He's like, who's this kid?
Yeah, it almost like a little bit of pride and like, who is that? Like they don't come across it maybe. Like, who is this kid to question me? Are
they individuals, Chris? Do they act like individuals, or are they this hive mind that you hear people talking about?
Well, let me first say that I had a very similar incident at Sean's, and it was in a different house. Sean wasn't born yet, and we're all standing around my dad, who's passed out in bed. There's two grays, and there's the wall is disappearing. We're supposed to walk out on this beam of light, and my mom's in a trance. She might as well have been out of it. And I said, what if the alien's like cloak was almost rubbing against dad's nose? He was just inches. He's standing there and he's having a conversation with the other gray.
Might as well have had a feather.
It's tickle his nose. He was that close.
Right.
Even though the conversation was in our heads, it sounded loud. And, the lights are shining in, the bright lights, the wall disappears. And I said, what if dad wakes up? Because if he wakes up and we're not here, he's going to look for us. And if he can't find us, he's going to call the police and they're going to come here. And what I was saying in my head is they're going to catch you. But, and in such a similar thing, the Gray said, much less impressed. He goes, he won't. He won't wake up. So that's a similar thing. And I believe that all of them are living individuals. They have distinct personalities. Their voices are all different. The way they talk is different. Some are like, relax, don't worry about it. Some are like, another thing, we're going to change this. Different speeds, different intensities. Some of them are cruel. Some of them are cool. Most are indifferent. But they are individuals. And Sean, like me, have you ever heard Grays arguing with each other?
I've seen one get angry at the other one for saying
Have you?
stuff. Oh, yeah. One of the short grays told me the future, and the tall gray was in absolute disbelief and gave him a verbal tongue lashing, for the lack of a better word. He was furious.
Yeah.
And what happened was they came and got me. I woke up. I was bothered by something. There was conversation between me and the short gray, and he assured me something was going to happen in the future, which changed my attitude. He was upset that I was upset. I could literally feel how upset he was that I was bothered by something. And
Really?
he was genuinely concerned that I was upset, and he wanted to know what was bothering. And when I told him, he told me something that was going to happen in the future that made me feel better. And when that happened, I noticed the tall gray out in the hallway
When he said it to you.
when he said it, and his head snapped around and looked. Yeah, and he couldn't see the short gray because he was around the corner in my room. But I had a direct line of sight with the tall gray, and he was like staring at me. And he yells, "What's going on over there?" Which is something I've heard him say before. It's when he disapproves of what's happening, or sometimes he literally does want to know what's happening. But I don't know if his face actually changed. His facial expression literally changed. But when I looked at him, he had the look of shock on his face, is what I pictured. He couldn't believe at what he had just heard. The short gray walked out towards the hallway, and the tall gray walked right up to him. He got in his face, and he looked down, and he asked him one question, 3 words. He says, "Are you stupid?" And then he paused for a moment, slowly turned around, and walked away from him. And I wanted to know, when is that going to happen? And he just meekishly said, as I walked past the short one, he says, "I can't." Like he knew when it was going to happen, but he couldn't tell. He knew he was in trouble.
So they have bosses like us too?
No doubt
It
about
sounds
it.
like the...
And it's probably not based on civil service exams. It seems to be the tall grays are certainly above the short grays.
Even just
So
genetically.
it's a species thing with them. Because
And
do you think the tall greys are a different species of grey to the short?
Well, yes and no. I mean, they look like variations. That's like more like different breeds, because look at dogs. You know, they've all
Yeah.
been carefully bred, and you've got wiener dogs and you've got bull mastiffs and everything in between.
Uh-huh.
In my opinion, yeah, they're different. It's a matter of rank and hierarchy with what we see. The short grays are terrified of the tall grays. They'll do anything to not fail or disappoint.
Yeah.
Who knows what they
Yeah.
do to the failures. But I was lucky enough to see that there is a being above the tall grays, and that is the mantis beings. They are the bosses as far as I know. And it was just one incident with me, but it made it very, very clear who's really in charge around here. So, and I look at it, I look at this like a military operation. This is not like, oh, let's go explore. Let's go. There's a world. Pull over. This is all planned. And it's, I think it's a military operation. And they have their orders and instructions. Each one of them obeys the ones above. There's no dissent, even though they may disagree. And I think in certain cases, they definitely disagreed. But
Do you
they
know
understand.
what, Chris? You've just said something there that's just struck a nerve with me, and it was heard Betty Hill, you know, Barney and Betty Hill. And Betty was talking about them getting orders, that they go to their superiors and get orders for what they're going to be doing on any particular night or daytime in your case. And you've just literally said the same thing, that they're working under orders.
Absolutely. It is not like aliens are cruising around a rural area in the night, just joyriding or whatever. And they see a couple
Yeah.
of campers. They go, there's a couple. Let's go get them.
Right.
That's not how it works. First of all, they're not authorized to take a ship and go do joyride. Everything is regimented. I believe it works like this. In some decision-making room, at a decision-making level, they decide who they're taking, and they decide when they're taking them, and at what point they have to be back. Here's the window of availability as we see it.
I asked them one time when they were going to come back.
Did you?
and he didn't know. He said, "We don't know, but we'll be back."
Wow. I never heard this. You are a good interviewer, Alex, because you're getting things out of this guy that I've never heard. So next he's going to say we're brothers.
I've got to be honest with the pair of you. I'm having the most wonderful discussion with you both.
Appreciate that. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's
And
so insightful, and just letting you talk, and it's all coming out, and it's just great.
it's a very strange tale. And the Greys are fascinating creatures. There's no doubt about it. And some can be kind and actually care a little bit
Yeah,
about you.
what surprises me the most, other than the fact that the stuff they can do, but about them is how human-like their personalities are. Like, they'll have a response to something that is similar to what a human being would have a response. Yeah, a similar response. Say certain phrases or the way they talk to each other.
I this if I may, my dad's actually asked a question from you guys. He wanted to know, do the Greys offer any information up about themselves? Do they offer any information up about family structure or religion?
I get, as far as I don't remember them saying anything about like where they're from or family or anything along those lines, to be honest with you. They really don't offer up information. If you ask them questions, they they may answer it. But I never asked where they were from or anything like that. I would ask if they abducted other people and things like that. But
Yeah,
nothing about themselves, unfortunately. I wish I had.
Well, they've acted in secrecy since they've got here. They are
yeah,
on a war footing. They won't tell you a goddamn thing about themselves. They refuse. You want to know
right,
how somebody's lying to you about the
right,
aliens? Is if they tell you they know where they're from. If they tell you they know the
right.
name of the race, and if they tell you that they may give them lengthy explanations about why we're here, we have a calcium deficiency on our world, and we have come back in time for your super healthy DNA, which is 40%
Yeah,
sugar these days. They don't give you answers. And listen, when somebody's acting in secrecy, always, it's not a good thing. The only legitimate
no,
reason for secrecy is if somebody's throwing you a surprise birthday party. Then secrecy's okay. But the rest of it means they're up to something that they don't want you to know about. Because if you knew, you'd try to
yeah,
stop. They don't even like
yeah,
abductees knowing they're abductees, correct?
Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't know if they hadn't made that mistake. There, as a child, I remembered many of my abductions and would complain to my mother about them, and she would just, you know, she was asking for evidence, and I brought her home evidence one time. But where was I going with this? But yeah, no, I had forgotten all about it. I was living my life normally, didn't know I was an abductee. They don't want even the abductees knowing. I guarantee that there are many, many people out there who are abductees like we were. They just have no idea it's even happening to them.
Now, I'm embarrassed again that I was living. If it wasn't for the mistake in '96, where they fucked up so bad we caught them, it broke the hold they had over Sean. Just this split second timing. If it had been one more minute,
Can you talk us through it, Chris? Can you tell us about what happened in '96?
okay, there's a big thing, but let's do it.
Yeah,
All right. I start.
okay.
Sean is not present at the moment. I was working for the police department at that time. I was working traffic control, traffic and crowd control at a big thoroughbred racetrack it, that is open only for 1 month in our town, but it doubles the city's population. Lately, we've been hosting the Belmont Stakes, one of the Triple Crown races. So I was working that, and it's August 19th, and it's hot. It's a hot day. I got out of work about 5:45. Mom had invited us over to her house. She was going to be barbecuing food on the grill, and We're all going to hang out by the pool like a family thing. So great. You know what I heard? I heard free food. So I will be there. I didn't even stop home and change. So I'm wearing a almost police officer shirt, where they rip the patches off like in the old
Yeah.
French Legion movies when they remove the rank.
Yeah.
So I get to the house almost 6 o'clock. My aunt is there. My cousin is there. My mother is there. My cousin's in the pool. My mother and my aunt are talking over here. So I just get in the lounge chair. We're going to wait for Sean. Sean is sleeping downstairs in the downstairs apartment. It's almost 6 in the afternoon, but Sean worked the overnight shift. So, and you said you had to work over.
I might have worked over that day. I'm not 100% certain, but I know I was working.
So what time do you think you got home and went to
Could
bed?
well, if I worked over, I was there till noon. But otherwise, I was there till 8. Would have probably gotten to sleep till 9 or at 9.
So he's down there sleeping. We're waiting for him to wake up to come up before mom starts grilling up the food, And also my dad is commuting home from Albany and he should be there shortly. So we're hanging out. And I was wearing tight leather shoes and standing in the road all day. So I get in a lounge chair, and just relax back, at a 45-degree angle with my feet up. And then things got weird.
And that was outside by the pool.
Yeah, we're outside. We're by the swimming pool. It's a big swimming pool, 36 feet. And, it's wonderful. And for some reason, as I'm laying there, I picked up this newspaper that was laying on the table next to me. Now, it was our local paper, the Saratogian. It was a rag. There's never any news in it. It was useful only for TV listings, no obituaries,
Yeah.
That was it. I never looked at it. But for some reason that day, when I'm laying back at this angle, looking at the big blue sky, waiting for Sean to arrive, I picked up that paper and I opened it spread wide like this, not like you need to read a newspaper folded or one page, you flip it over and I had it like this. And as I lay back, what I did was effectively block my entire view of the sky. And even at the time, I remember thinking, this is ridiculous. I asked myself, who am I? Fred McMurray? Fred McMurray was a
Yeah.
1950s TV dad. Let me show my 3 sons. And, the running joke was that every time his kids came in for help or advice, he had his big newspaper up so he could ignore them and even occasionally look over. And
Yeah.
there was nothing funnier than a neglectful parental guidance from a father in the 1950s. That was the way it
Yeah.
went. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking it's ridiculous as I'm holding it up and I'm not, what am I reading both pages? I am not reading it at all, but I was holding it. And then my mother, the week before, we had a discussion about UFOs. She knew about them. At that point, I was a complete blank. And so my mother said, Chris, and I had told her it turned into an argument, that I wanted to see one. And mom knew all about what was going on. I had walked into the house a week before. Mom had on Oprah Winfrey, I believe, and Oprah was interviewing UFO witnesses about a big sighting that had just taken place nationally. And I'm looking at it, and mom's watching it rather intently, smoking a cigarette. And I listened for a minute, standing there, and I said, huh, you know what? I think I believe them. I think they saw something. I think they're telling the truth. And mom got mad at me. And she said, oh, you do? Oh, wow. You think you believe them? Think they're telling the truth, huh? Isn't that fantastic? Great. Good job. And I'm like, what? What? And I said, I want to see them. I want to see one. And mom said, oh, you want to see one? Well, that's just effing great. Good. Good for you. And she stamped out her cigarette. And I'm like, what? What? And she left the room. And I'm like, well, what'd I do? Mom knew. And she was angry that I didn't. That after all these decades, I didn't know. She was upset. So a week later, I'm laying on the lounge chair with the newspaper open, and Mom says, "There's that UFO you wanted to see, Chris." And I just said, "Uh-huh." And I didn't lower the paper because, to be honest with you, I thought she was busting my balls. I thought I'm going to look up and there's a
Yeah.
kite or, or two ducks having
Yeah.
sex flying overhead, So I didn't give her the satisfaction because I love my mother enough to try and ruin her prank. So I missed looking at it for probably 15 seconds. And then my aunt said, confused, she said, "Wait, what is that?" And my mom said, I don't know. And either my mom's been going to acting school or she's gotten really good at pranks. And so I said, okay, if they're going to all this effort to prank me, I'll play along, you know? And I lower the paper and I go, okay, and that's as far as I got because what I saw
Why?
above our yard, just about, was what looked like a disc shaped craft passing through a kind of small hole in the sky and coming into our world. I had no frame of reference for any of it. And keep in mind, my memories weren't mine. I didn't know it was a flying saucer. I didn't even think about it, but I was watching it. And initially there was a bright hole. Okay. And this craft suddenly was in the hole and light was streaming through. And the craft itself was translucent at the beginning. Like you could see light coming through it. So I didn't know what to make of it. It was a very strange visual effect. And as it proceeded, it was very blurry. It was indistinct. It was in the distance. And there were heat mirage effects going on all around it. It's warbling like this. And I thought that it was in the distance, in a great distance, because if you ever look at a hot air balloon in the distance, they're blurry. The colors are muted by the atmosphere between you and it, and distinct. And it was like that. But the craft began to get more and more solid. The special effects, the warbling stopped, and then it was there, still blurry, and it was becoming clearer. And you could see there were two halves. It was silver with a black band in the middle, and the two halves are spinning in different directions. And it's still not fully there. And then suddenly it is. And the top half of it is shining chrome bright with the afternoon sun hitting it. And the underside was in shadows now. Before it was just like a cutout, you know, but now
Yeah.
it was fully there. And I didn't, and
Wow.
as it was fully there, I realized the reasons I thought it was in the distance were not true. It was right here.
Mm, mm,
And I
yeah.
thought we were just miraculously seeing something going by. We were the destination. It came a little closer and it was over our house in our yard. And there it was. And I noticed a lot of weird effects about it. There was this light lavender color aura, energy coming off of it. And it was like if a boat is bobbing on the water and it's got an oil leak and the petroleum leaks into the water, it leaves a trail.
Yeah.
That was going on. There was a trail of almost invisible purple energy. And it was almost like boiling, but it wasn't perfect circles. It was like clumps of mashed potatoes being
Yeah.
born and pulled apart with strings and then reforming. And mind you, it was translucent, almost invisible. If it wasn't for the difference between the clear blue sky, cloudless sky, and this aura, I wouldn't have noticed it. Okay, so it's getting weird. My mother, my cousin, my aunt, they're all in a trance. They don't know what to make of it. They're standing there slack-jawed. No one has spoken since I lowered the paper. I mean, your mind starts running on a checklist. Anyone who tells you that when you see something weird, the first thing you do is leap to the conclusion, oh, it must be a flying saucer. Look, a light in the sky. No, I was going down every possible excuse why it could be something else. It's the closest I could get was it's a promo blimp balloon of the Death
Yeah.
Star, because it looked like the Death Star, but more not round, collapsed, silver, black band. There's a Budweiser promotional balloon, and it's deflating for some reason.
Yeah.
That's what I came to until I said to myself, "This is a flying saucer." In my mind, immediately was like, "These things are real." I was told this was all bullshit. There it is. It's real, and it lit up. Suddenly, it's not silver. It lit up like a road flare, and like little pinpricks of thorns of light boiling off of it and receding, and sparks of light, like 1,000 points of light. That's all I could think. And there we were. And I got up. I was more coherent than the rest of the family. And they take away a lot of things, your panic, your adrenaline, but they didn't take away curiosity. So I wanted to provoke a reaction. I got up, I walked the length of our yard, the length of the pool, which took me about 35 feet. Closer to it, I was almost under it. And I stood on the diving board to be a couple feet closer. And as I'm under it, I noticed that the bottom of it was a black circle. It was all silver, except if you were under enough, you could see a black circle. And then suddenly a voice in my head, which I thought was mine, but it wasn't. The same voice that told me to pick up the newspaper said, "Don't get under it. Probably all kinds of crazy radiation. Get away from it. Back off." So I did. I backed off. And, thinking to myself, good idea, Chris. Good thought, because it's seamless the way they put thoughts in your mind. And I backed off, and I was becoming very aware. I was angry. I became angry. Like, it was clear we were the destination. And I'm thinking,
Right.
who the hell are these? I could sense there were beings in there. I felt them. And I said, how dare they? Think they can come to our house and hover over us, do whatever they want? Who do they think they are, these people?
That's right.
Where do they get off?
That's right.
That's what I was thinking, honestly.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. And I was getting mad. And I was also getting a little bit scared, because I thought to myself, they could just disintegrate us. No one would ever know what happened to us. They could suck us up. They could erase us. And I was angry. I looked over at my mom, and what I did, I'm still a little bit proud of. I stood up in my fake top shirt with all the authority I could muster
And wrote him a parking ticket.
the expensive $75 ticket. Like parking at a large truck.
Write the parking ticket.
Like, get lower, I got to stick this under your windshield wiper.
Right.
What I actually did was I raised my hand like this, 2 double fists, and I put my middle fingers up right at him. If I'm going out, I'm not going out like in a pile of dust, like an H.G.
Going out in
Wells.
style.
I'm going out like an Irishman, is what I'm doing.
Yeah, man.
And I said to them, as loud as I could, you might want to mute this, I said, "Fuck you!" And then the thing lit up with flames, and I said, oh, that might not have been the best move. So I decide I'm going to go get Sean. And Sean's got a gun. He's a man. I'm the only man out here. And sometimes that's questionable. It depends on which of my girlfriends you have.
Do you bring your service weapons home, do you, when you're a cop?
You don't have to, but I did.
So now this is
Yeah.
where, sorry to take so much of that time, but now is where Sean enters. This is a event that can only be told with the two of us. Now the mom's gone. So
All right. Well, everybody thinks I'm downstairs in bed sleeping, and I was supposed to be. That's where I went when I got home. But my first memory of this incident is being in the air, looking down into the yard and seeing my family and everybody at the pool. And I wasn't looking out a window or a porthole or a screen. It's as if the side of, and first of all, I wasn't the least bit concerned that I'm up in the air looking down into the backyard, right? And you would
Wow.
think that if that's the first thing you see, you're going to freak out. Why am I, 40
Yeah.
feet? I didn't feel odd at all that I was there. But when I was looking at them, I could see the whole area. There was nothing blocking my view, as if there was no wall to whatever I was standing in,
Yeah. Yeah.
I could see right through it. And I saw my family there, and I got excited, and I said, "Can I go swimming?" And I didn't even know I must have known who I was asking, but I didn't see
Yeah.
anybody there with me. And that's
Mhm.
when off to my right side, there was what can only be described as a short gray alien. He's standing parallel with me, and he leans forward at the waist, and he tilts his head to the left where I was to look at me.
Mhm.
And he says,
Yeah.
"We're taking you to bed. You can get up and go swimming." He even emphasized the word up, like when you can get up and go swimming.
Yeah.
And that's when I looked and noticed, because I'm looking off to my right at him, I noticed there's somebody right behind me. I kind of turned, and I've got two taller grays that were just about my height, maybe a hair shorter, at least their shoulders were a bit shorter. And, I looked, and I was like eye to eye with the one. And each one was standing like right behind me by maybe a foot behind me at most. One behind the right
Mhm.
shoulder, one behind the left shoulder. And when I turned around and I was eye to eye with him, he didn't move at all. There was no reaction out of him. He just stood there and was staring straight ahead.
Could you see the water?
Yeah, and that's when I looked back down at the pool, and I noticed I couldn't tell you where that I saw Chris and he was here and I saw him do the middle finger. I can't say I remember seeing any of I don't.
It wasn't aimed at you.
I
It was not.
yeah. Uh but I do specifically remember seeing my cousin in the pool. And we agree to whereabouts he was in the pool, and that he had like a swimmer's cap over his head, you know, uh, and maybe got
He looked like an East German woman swimmer. It was not a good look boy. The tight shower
what
cap
was he
and
made?
the goggles,
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
He was maybe what 10 or 12,
something
younger
like
than
that.
that,
Yeah,
maybe.
it might have been 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he's the only one I can specifically remember seeing. But when I looked down to the pool, I also saw light like reflecting off the pool water. And it was a light that I had never seen before. It was a lot of little different lights, and they were like shooting across the pool. I thought to myself, wow, that's really weird. It's got to be the sun's reflection, but it looks different because of the angle I'm looking at it, because I'm looking at it from an elevated view. That was my
Yeah.
thought.
What it really was the craft at that point was all lit up like a road flare with
Yeah.
sparks, needles of light, and it was a pinkish gold kind of color, like a magnesium road flare. So we're both seeing that.
Yeah,
He's
from
up there
different
in it.
perspectives. Yep. And I don't see it like outside the wall of this craft. I'm only seeing the reflection. Like I should be able to see the sparks themselves in between me and the pool, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the reflection of it off the water.
What?
So uh it's just
What happens next?
well, I feel completely normal while I'm standing there talking to the one alien. I'm asking him a question, he's responding. I'm not the least bit freaked out. You got to at this point in my life, I had forgotten all those incidents as a child. This was new to me that day anyway. Like going into that day, I didn't know this
Yeah.
was happening to me. But while I'm on the craft, obviously I'm comfortable and familiar with them. So when I looked over and he's talking to me, I didn't freak out. I didn't panic. It just felt normal to be there. But the next moment, after I saw the lights flashing off the water, all of a sudden I'm in the basement.
Now, before you go on with that. It must have been right at that moment when I decided I'm gonna go get Sean and get his gun and get the hell up here.
Yeah.
I ran up the back steps to go in the kitchen and then down the stairs to
You also had
Sean's
the
apartment.
you also had the thought to not get underneath it. Did you say that?
Yes,
You did.
yes.
Okay.
I'm about to dash and get Sean, and the thought in my head said, "Oh, don't go inside. You know that by the time you come back out, this will be gone. This is the only chance you'll ever have to see something like this. Stay and watch it. Don't go inside." And for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, no more than that, I went, oh, yeah, come on. I don't want to miss this. Look at this. And I'm staring up at it as if it was my thought. And then I looked over at Mom standing there like a zombie.
Right.
And I said, no, I've got to go get Sean. Now, sorry to interrupt. Now you're not on the ship.
Yep. All of a sudden, I'm in the basement, and I'm not in the bedroom, but I'm next to it. And
Mhm.
now that I'm in the basement, I don't feel fine. I feel as if I've been like under anesthesia is the best way to describe it. Or drunk,
Okay.
perhaps. I've got an arm over the shoulders of each one of those aliens who was standing behind me. They are literally
The taller greys.
the taller ones. They're helping me get to bed. They're doing most of the work because I'm really out of it.
Okay.
Unlike I was on the ship, I don't know what they did to me in the meantime, but they did not see us float down into the house, or there was no way. They must have teleported us into the house.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we're there. They're helping me to the bed, and I look up to the one on my right, and I thank him for helping me to bed. Basically, I say thank you. He doesn't respond, so I thank him again, and his exact words were, "Yeah, yeah." So
Huff.
yep. So we continue. I think it's he was either not interested, or I think he didn't want to stimulate my brain again. He wanted me to
Okay.
stay in that state. So I
In that dumbed down state.
yeah, and I'm speculating, but I don't think he wanted to engage in conversation and stimulate me exactly. So then the next
Right.
thing I remember is I know we're walking towards the bedroom. I don't remember going in the door or even being put into the bed. Next thing I remember is I'm in my bed and I hear, it's telepathy, but it's like hearing it. And I'm not looking. I'm starting to doze off to sleep, but I hear the alien that's on the side of my bed in an absolute panic. He says, "He's coming. We're gonna get caught." And I swear he said gonna. He didn't say we're going to
Yeah.
be captured.
So like a slang.
Yeah, exactly. It's conversational English, at least when they're talking to us. It's odd how comfortable they are with it.
They use contractions and phrases,
Yeah.
and sarcasm. They're completely
Wow.
translated. So
So the one at the foot of my bed, he's as cool as can be. He's calm. He turns to the other one and says, "No, he's not. Not yet." And I'm there and I'm drifting to sleep, and I hear what's going on. And I'm picturing, who are they worried about catching them? And are they not supposed to be doing this? Are the thoughts that was going on in my head? Is there some supreme being on his way here? And I'm trying to picture, who's on their way here that they're going to be afraid of. Uh,
supreme being right here.
I
It was
absolutely,
me.
I have, So it took every ounce of energy I had. I sat up in bed and I looked at them. And at this point, they're both at the foot of my bed. And I said, "Who's coming?" And they turned around to face me. And in unison, they said, "Go to sleep." And I just couldn't resist. I laid back down. Start drifting off to sleep.
And then what?
Next thing I hear is a pounding on my bedroom door. And it's Chris saying, "Sean, get up. There's a UFO outside."
Now, for me, this is all happening at the same time. They're pointing it out. They held me up. I took the stairs down like 4 at a time, leaped down, and I grabbed his doorknob and I was going to throw it open and say, "Sean, get up," literally wake him up. And avoid that voice again,
Yeah.
the voice that told me to pick up the paper, to not stand under it, to not go get Sean, stay here and watch.
Yeah.
For the 4th time in 10 minutes, put a thought in my head, said, don't open his door. You'll shock him if you wake him up like that, and he has a gun and he could shoot you. And I went, "Oh, well, I hadn't really thought of that. I better not open the door." And so at that point, I pound on the door. Bam, 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 bam. "Sean, get up. There's a UFO outside. Come on, Sean, get up." And so all of that was happening as he's asking who's coming. And they say, "Go to sleep." And he starts to drift off, and I pound on his door.
And when I hear Chris saying that to me, I try answering him using telepathy because I was just talking to the aliens using telepathy. And I'm saying to him,
Right.
of course there is. They just left. And then
So you started sending me that telepathically. Is that
yeah.
pounding on your door?
Yeah. Or just after you pounded
Yep.
on the door. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, "What? Huh?" I just was coming to, and I'm like, "What's going on?" I was caught in between, and I realized
Yeah.
what he was saying. I threw the covers off, and I ran upstairs, went outside, and it was bright as could be, and it was gone by the time I got there.
So you were
Yeah.
literally in the two worlds, because they didn't get you for your memories to be covered.
Right.
I mean, the second they left, I was waking you up, telling you, pounding on your door, saying, "Get up, there's a UFO outside." So seamlessly, you tried to communicate. And after I pounded on the door, I did run up to see, I'm not going to
Wait
wait
till
while
I
he
get my
laces his shoes and buttons his
Yeah.
overcoat. So I run upstairs and I see the craft is now, it's no longer lit up. It's silver. And it's moving away over the next street, heading east. And what was interesting was it wasn't flat. Now it was like a wheel. It was on its side, and it's just
So it went.
moving away.
It went.
Yep. And it's not the first time that's happened in our family. It was the first time I saw it happen. And it's going further away, and Sean is upstairs. Okay. And we're all surrounding him. "Sean, you wouldn't believe it. Sean." And even Mom was like, "Oh, it was really something." And we're like, it was a
And he was
flying
on it.
It was right here. It was a flying saucer. And Sean, I'm looking at Sean.
Wow.
I'm looking at Sean,
That's
and
crazy.
he's not going, "Oh, wow, a flying saucer. What? Come on, guys." He's wincing in pain. His face is scrunched up. He's in pain. Like, have you ever seen a prison movie from the Caesar 60s where, like Cool Hand Luke, where they stick him in the hot box for a few days and they
Yeah.
roast in the darkness? Then they let him out. When they let him out, the brightness, they're like dazed. And
Yeah.
that's what I thought when I was looking at Sean. That he was
And that's how it felt
Yeah.
too. I was wrestling,
Yeah.
not only wrestling with the sunlight, I was wrestling with the realization of not only what just happened, but my memories were coming back to me as to all these other times.
that's That is, while we're looking at you in pain,
my
that's what's going
gosh.
on in your head. You are recovering all your stolen memories. I
Did it
didn't
all
know.
start coming through, Sean? You started to remember and
Yeah,
go,
one
you
at
know,
a time, of course. And it wasn't all, standing there in the pool or by the pool, but that's when it started for sure.
And here I am blathering. It was a flying saucer. You wouldn't believe it. It was weird. And all of this is hitting him. And
And I didn't say anything while I was out there.
right, your girlfriend was there. Your mom. You didn't say anything. And I thought, poor Sean. I woke
Missed
him
it.
up too soon. He's kind of half sleeping, and he missed all the fun. He missed the whole action. Poor Sean. And I said, Sean, let's get in your convertible. Let's drive as fast as we can east. It can't be far at that rate of speed. We'll catch it. I'll show you. It's real. It's a long. So he's driving as while all this is going on, right, for you. And finally, I'm like, this is flying saucer. You missed it. And he said, I think you said, I know they were bringing me back, right? And I thought, man, I really woke this guy up too early, and I put all this stuff in his head. He's dreaming or something. And what I said was, oh, no, Sean. Nobody's talking about alien abductions. I'm just saying there was a flying saucer hovering over the house for about 10 minutes. Like it was too much of a leap for me. Oh, nobody's talking abductions. It's just,
And I think that's part of the problem with ufology today, if there is such a thing, is that there are so many people that do believe that it's too big a leap, that extraterrestrials are here and hovering around our airspace, but it's too big of a leap to say that they've ever had interaction with human beings.
it's the 50-foot rule.
It's the 50-foot rule.
that
We're going to try to
Yeah.
create.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll admit they came from other dimensions or other star systems, and they come here and
Been here for
they
decades.
just
Yeah.
won't go over than 50 feet. They won't land.
Yeah, they actually admit, don't they? A lot of UFO investigators admit they stay away from the subject
They
Yeah,
do,
they're
yeah.
scared.
because
Yeah.
it's just
as did all of academic science throughout my life.
Wow.
Nobody in her corner, not even ufologists. We had no one for help. Nobody. And
I
there's
feel for you guys,
windows
Chris.
on crafts. What do they think is in the ships? Candy? Are they big pinatas?
What happens at night when you lie down to go to sleep?
Well,
Do you
let's just
see this
finish-
stuff? Do you think about this stuff?
Well, we kind of got sidetracked. Let us finish what happened that day. We're close to the end of it. So we're driving down the road, and the craft is nowhere in sight. And I said, "Oh, Sean, we're not talking about alien abductions. We're just talking about flying saucer over the house. The saucer is sitting there for 10 minutes over our house." And Sean said to me, "They've taken you too. Lots or plenty or something like that." And I said so condescendingly, this is what I said to him: "You can put on whatever effete accent you want." But I was like, "Hold on. I think if I was being abducted by space aliens, I would know about it." And I really meant that. And it was so,
Yeah.
and he said to me,
Don't you remember the time Mom screamed and ran through the living room saying, "They're back. Why do they have to come? Why do they come back?" And
"Why do they always have to come back?" She was screaming it in a primal
as I
animal.
started quoting her, he was able to finish the quote.
Yeah.
His memory came back by me just simply reminding him.
He reminded me.
It's like you reboot your memory, isn't it? It
Yeah.
just takes a trigger.
Well, there's a lot of computer analogies that are used in this. I don't know about that, but I remembered it as he was saying, "They came back. Why do they have to come back? Why do they always?" And I joined in, "Have to come back." And it was the scariest sound I'd ever heard. She was,
And
it
that
was a
was,
sob.
yeah.
She was incoherent. She was screaming. Her words had abandoned her. Because the first thing, before she said that, she just screamed. And I had never heard a person scream at that age. Not on, and maybe in the movies.
And a real scream.
Not
There's
real,
a difference between,
like, oh, you got me a Game Boy. No,
Yeah.
she screamed
Yeah.
in horror. When I heard the scream, I thought she had burned herself. She was in the kitchen making us lunch. And did she burn herself or cut her finger? But then she said, they came back. Why do they have to come back? Why do they always have to come back? And we said it in that car in unison. And it felt like somebody standing at the side of the road with a bowling ball lobbed it out. And it went through that windshield and it smashed into my face. And it broke the hold they had over me, and it shattered like shards of glass, but falling into place. And just like he was going through, they started flooding back. The shock of the day, dealing with it, and us miraculously getting Sean out of that bed before the hold set in.
yeah,
They left the vault door open.
I have no doubt, had I fallen back to sleep for another hour and then got up, there was no way I was going to remember it.
It was,
Yeah.
it was
They'd have completed what they were doing.
Or if I had opened that door that they told me not to, they probably would have put me to sleep too. Covered my memories right then.
I wonder,
And I certainly wouldn't have been able to wake Sean up in time for this to happen. They fucked.
So they messed up, didn't they?
They messed up. That's a good word. They messed up big time. And they had to get him back. You know, the funny thing is, we thought Sean was in that room. But Sean came through that portal from some other place on that ship.
Wow.
He was in whatever dimension or whatever's on the end of that portal that required so much energy and time to make them whole. It wasn't cloaking. You could see it become more solid and less chaotic, and the energy involved. Sean was wherever that ship was. I thought he was downstairs.
Tell you what, you listen to people like Neil deGrasse Tyson,
Do we have
Brian Cox, who are saying that it's impossible to travel these distances.
Yeah, in Neil deGrasse's car that he owns today, it is impossible to travel. But you know what? They don't come around in Nissan Pathfinders, for Christ's sakes. He has no excuse to be that stupid. He sees what these ships have done and can do, and can accelerate away at 3,000 miles an hour without turning the inhabitants into jelly. So who is he getting? He's lying to you. And here's the difference between this guy and me and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson has never seen a goddamned thing. Neil deGrasse Tyson has never stood there face to face with a tall gray. Never once. He's never been on their ships. He's never been close to one of their ships. And he's never felt them reaching into his mind with their invasive, undeniable telepathic abilities and slowly changing our minds into what they want.
Yeah.
Never once. Let me know when that dude has been face to face with a tall gray, because until then, he doesn't know anything more than a Dutch boy in Antwerp. They don't know anything. There's two groups of people on this world. The ones who know these beings.
Yeah.
The ones who don't, everybody else, who makes up fanciful stories and cockamamie excuses. And Neil deGrasse Tyson is basically saying nowhere in the universe are there ships better than ours that can come here. Guess what, Neil? Isn't he busy fending off like sexual harassment complaints from employees? Focus on that. Lawyer up, Neil. Let us handle the alien talk, because you simply are not qualified to discuss it. And they
Yeah.
they have all, here's what they've had to do to stick to that line. They've had to ignore everything that an alien abductee has had to say.
Yeah.
Every bit of it. You know how you heard the term gray?
Hmm.
You didn't hear it from Neil deGrasse or Carl Sagan or any of them. You heard it from us, not just me and him. You know what a gray is because abductees have come back and told you what a gray is.
Yes.
Hybridization, you know about it because we told you about it.
Yes, right.
Abductions, the protocol, the table, all those things. It all comes
Yeah.
from us. And we are marginalized and ignored and ridiculed after 70 years of this data piling up. Mom was 1959. That's 67 years ago. You're way past the point of excuses.
I can
This is
see that
what
you guys are absolutely legitimate.
And what are we? We're not. What we are is we are wartime correspondents. We have
Yeah.
been the front lines of this
Yeah.
situation throughout our lives. We know these beings better than most people know their, I don't know, something. I'd say their spouse, but we don't know them that well. We know these beings, okay? You don't. You're not even aware they're real. We tell you they are. And they just push us to the bottom of the list. Oh, you can't listen to abductees.
Because they're, you know,
They're making too much sense.
if you do, it kind
That's
of,
the problem, isn't it?
not only that, I think it justifies governments around the world. It's not just our government, but governments around the world. It justifies them keeping this secret because
Yeah.
people may want to know that there's alien life and we have the technology. It's more than the ships, you know,
Yeah.
it's beings that come with the ships and how
Yeah.
advanced they are and how they will treat people. And do people want to know that they're abducting people en masse? I asked him, I said, do you abduct everyone? And his answer wasn't, no, just you or just your family or, hardly anybody.
What did he say?
His answer was, he didn't give me an exact number, but he goes, no, not everyone.
Oh, well, that's.
You know, that's like
There-
asking the girl you met, you know,
Do you sleep with everyone?
you sleep with anyone. You know, it may not be
Yeah.
the answer you want to. It indicates that it is going on more than people believe it is.
And it also indicates that
Have you ever seen other humans when you've been in that situation?
The only time I did was at that school, but Chris has.
when you were doing the telekinesis, there were two of you side by side.
Yeah.
So you have seen other
Yeah.
humans there. And you've gone with Mom, and I've seen the three of you be taken away by them together. So you see, I've seen a lot, but only because this one time when we went to, we were taken to an underground installation. And it was a big event. They came for us at 11 a.m. This is the time Mom screamed that.
Yeah.
This was probably the most complete abduction experience I have. And they took us to an underground facility. And here's another example where the aliens.
Now I was there, but it's funny. I don't remember I remember little bits of being underground at one point, but I can't say when that was. So I only remember
You were
them.
4 years old.
Yeah, I was 4 years old. So the last thing I remember is that alien floating through the ceiling saying, "You can't hide from us." But this is that same event.
And what happened? This is one of the most complete ones I have, and it's the biggest thing. So there they are. Mom screams, and I see the creatures crossing the yard to our house, and they're communicating to me telepathically. They're saying, "Don't panic. Don't scream. Do not flee. Stay where you are. You will not be harmed. We will not hurt you," again and again until they were close enough to come in and, reveal themselves, lift the memory block. But what happened, I thought, oh my God, I don't know what these things are, but I'm going to lock the back door. It was the only thing I could think of doing. I don't have a machine gun or any, force rays.
Yeah.
I said, I can lock the back door. So I go to lock the back door. Mom is running the other way, grabbing the kids, and she knows what I'm doing. She said, probably through experience, she said to me, "That's not gonna help." But that's all I know how to do. And as I moved towards the back door, I was paralyzed. Where I stood, I could not move anything but my eyeballs. And there were two of them. There was a third one by the craft, and the craft was in the corner of our yard. It was an acre lot, so it was big.
Landed, which they
It
rarely
landed,
do.
yeah.
They usually just hover.
And I'll tell you, the craft, it was one I hadn't remembered seeing before. It was kind of shaped like, in the 90s, there were these Airstream trailers. They were silver. And
Yeah,
they
I've seen
kinda-
those. Streamliner.
Well, yeah. Well, just picture it standing upright. Okay. And that was in
Really?
the corner of our yard, and there was one of them standing by the hatch. The other two, a tall gray and a short gray.
So they may have been taking us camping that weekend.
I
I'm not sure.
would have been all for it. Certainly better. They're coming. The short gray is marching right towards the picture window, the closed picture window. The tall gray is going for the back door. I'm paralyzed. I can't stop them. I can't do anything. And the tall gray, white, they're white. They're not really gray.
Yeah, that's how I would describe them. If I had never heard the term gray before and somebody asked, I would say white because they're, almost like a
Right.
pure white.
Very much. They're cold. They look like a dead fish with big black eyes. When I was young, I thought they were ghosts. And the tall grays were close.
Yeah, I didn't know they were always, as a child, I didn't know the alien beings.
Right. We had no idea they were
I didn't know
aliens.
they're, alien. I just knew somebody was coming at night and getting me and taking off with me in a ship of some sort, flying through the air.
What are their eyes like? Do they have the almond shaped black eyes that we all think about?
Some do. Most do to various degrees. Some are kind of rounded. But there's varieties, I think. There's different skin textures. And some of them, I've seen the tall grays they're almost tan, like a 100-year-old tortoise with like thin parchment skin that was tan, brown, wrinkled. So there are varieties. But so can I continue with this example, this thing this day? It's big.
Yeah.
So the tall gray walks in the back door and the short gray walks through the picture window and wall. And they're standing in front of me, paralyzed. And the only thing I could do was scream like a 5-year-old girl who dropped a bowling ball on her open-toed sandals. I screamed. I lost my mind. I didn't know what was happening. And this one just walked through the damned wall. And the tall gray, kind of annoyed that I was screaming, kind of just in one step comes over and puts his fingers on my top of my head, and he tilts my head back, and he gets down and stares into my eyes and said, "Shut up," or "Be quiet." Either one of those. It was the same thing. And sometimes it feels like more than one word that's saying, "Be quiet." And I stood there zoned out. Now they're bringing Mom and Sean and down behind me. I hear them coming down the stairs, but I can't turn my head to look at them. They just file out next to me, and they march across the yard, and then they march me across the yard.
You should have been like, "See you guys later."
I would love it. And don't forget
Make
to
sure
ride.
you have them back.
But then they take me on the ship, and I'm on the ship. It was not a big craft, so they had a set. There was a padded pole in the center with a seat that goes around it. And Mom and Sean were just blanked. They were blanked. And I was a little more coherent. And they put us on that seat, and they lowered a circular bar, like if you're on a Ferris wheel or an amusement park ride, so you don't fall out of your seat. But I was a small kid, and Mom and Sean, they're out of it. The two short grays are piloting this craft. The tall gray is out of my sight doing something. And they take everything away. They take your fear, they take your reason, your anger, anything like that. But they really, there's a couple cases where they didn't take curiosity, because what I wanted to do, I wanted to get out of my seat and look at what my city looks like from above in the air. I'd never been in an airplane. And so I slip under the bar and I creep over, and I'm almost right behind them. So they've got a windshield. All I could see was gray, like we're inside a cloud maybe. So I couldn't see anything. And one of the short grays piloting turns around and he screams, "What is this one doing up?" And when they have the telepathy is not just in your, if they have a strong emotional reaction, then you feel it like a wave hits you. Or if you've ever been to a very loud concert, you're standing in front of the bass stack of amplifiers, you can feel it in your chest, right? It was like
Yeah.
that. What is this one doing up? And the tall gray comes over, puts me back in the seat, and we continue. A few minutes later, whatever they were doing was under control. Because I think they were distracted by actually piloting this ship to not notice me getting up. So now it's all stable. And the other one who didn't yell at me, the other short gray, he wheels his chair around, his backless swivel seat, completely uncomfortable, I'm sure. And he turns around and he says to me with a chuckle, "What was your plan? What were you trying to do?
Take over the ship.
What was?" And I think he was implying that, what you thought, what, you conscious and take over the, he was like, "What was your plan anyway? What are you trying to do?" He was completely amused. And I said to him the truth. I said, "I just wanted to see what my city looks like from above. I've always wanted to see it, and I never have." And he says to me, "Oh, okay. Well," his attitude changed. I wasn't trying to, "This is my ship now," like Captain Phillips. He said, "Well, we don't go up," he said to me. And I'm like confused. He goes, "Well, we go up a little, but then we go down."
Ooh.
And when he said that, the mean one freaked out. He said to him, Shut up. Just shut up. You don't tell them that. You don't tell them anything. What are you doing?" And the nice one said, "Oh, come on. The kid's curious. That's a good thing, right? Besides, he'll never remember any of this anyway." And the other one said, "Well, just don't." Next thing I remember, I'm standing there outside of our little craft, and there are 300, at least, abductees all around me. It's as busy as a train
Wow.
station. And the floors are curved and arched, smooth. It's a marble floor in an expensive office building, but the walls are jagged rock, like layers of slate. So you can see the years. And the light was diffuse. It was coming from above, but I didn't notice lights. I was sedated and I wasn't concerned with the lights. What I noticed was I saw in the distance a tall gray taking Sean and Mom away from me and going down a corridor. And they're going away. I've got to get over to them. And I'm cutting through lines of people moving, who are under control. They're just going where they're told. It was like a train station, a busy train station. Everyone's trying to make their train. And I'm cutting through and bumping into people, and they're all adults. They're all 6'2", and I'm 9 years old or 10 years old. And a
Yeah.
tall gray comes over and he's, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Pretty much like that. He's like, "Wait, whoa, where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going with them. It's my family. I'm going that way." They said, "No, no, no." He said, "No, no, no. You're over here." And he moves me back into a row of people standing there unconscious. And he puts me there and I'm paralyzed again. Second time that day. And all I can do is look with my eyes. And I see rows and rows of people standing up, paralyzed, in a trance, unmoving, unreacting, almost like G.I. Joe dolls on the racks at the toy store. one after another, after another.
Mm.
Then I settle into
Mm.
paralysis and I look around and I saw a girl from my school that I knew. She was in a row facing me. And I always liked her. We were friends. And she was in a trance and she was completely naked. And this is the first time I'd ever seen a naked girl. And it's one I know, and it's one I'm friends with. And I was embarrassed for her. I was really embarrassed. I was embarrassed for me. And there I am.
Yeah.
There she is, 20 feet away. And next to her in another row was a real heavy set woman, like in her 50s. And she was in her panties and her bra. I'd never seen that either. So it was awkward. It was unpleasant. It was embarrassing that I see this girl that I know well. We went to school together. We went to the same school. So at that point, there's a noise, a few people back behind me. First of all, there were two reptilians. In between the row I was in and the other one, there was a little stream of water trickling by. And if you've ever been to an American shopping mall in the 70s or 80s, they'll have little water features and they'll have little
Yeah.
bridges, like a little arched
Mm.
footbridge that's something like 4 or 5
Mm.
feet over the water for you to walk and throw your pennies in and make wishes that won't come true. And on that bridge, as they were moving me to be paralyzed, were two what I assumed to be reptilians. I've never seen reptilians before in my life, and I never saw them since. But they weren't exactly the same way they've been pictured. But there they were. And, they weren't these big, muscular, Gorn things. They were tall, they were muscular, but in a lean, lanky way. And they were enjoying watching all the people around them. They were like security guards. They were like hired security guards. So what happens is behind me, someone starts making noise. I would say no more than 4 people behind me in the row. And he's making these noises, an adult man. I can't turn and see him, but he's like, like incoherently, but he's waking up. And he said, this is not a dream. This is really happening. My God, this is really happening. Help! Help! He's screaming for help at the top of his lungs. And a tall gray swoops over and he summons the 2 reptilians who are laughing. They're enjoying this, guys. They're laughing at him. And I can't turn to see, but they quickly remove him from the line and they take him away down one of these very long tunnel-like corridors. And I hear him in the long distance still screaming for help. And then I don't. And I don't remember anything more because whatever they do, on the table, whatever they're doing, you're unconscious for it. So the next thing I remember is they brought us back. It is now dark. Okay. It was 11 o'clock in the morning. It was late March. So it could have been as early as 5:30 or 6 p.m., but we were gone for 7 hours. And they march Mom and Sean into the house, the dark house. They take him inside, and I go to follow them. And the tall gray, he gets in between. He blocks me. He blocks my way. And I'm like, what now? Exactly. Right? And it's snowing a little bit. The flakes are falling. They're accumulating a little bit. And his cape is blowing. His cloak flapping in the strong wind, in the night wind, all over the place. He doesn't seem to care. And he's kind of silhouetted. I see he's backlit from a streetlight. So I see the streetlight, the light of it going through his cape. And he's right in front of me. And he said, I didn't know what to expect. He said, I want to talk to you. And I didn't say anything. So he says to me, I know that when we yelled at you earlier, it upset you. And we did not mean to upset you. But when we put you somewhere, You have to stay where we put you. When you got up like that, you could have touched something that would have killed us all. You would have killed your whole family and us. So we're sorry we upset you when we yelled, but you have to stay where we put you. So go in and join your family. I did. Now, first of all, if you don't want me blowing up your shit, how about leaving me home? Let me watch cartoons.
Yeah,
Let me.
that'd help,
How-
wouldn't it?
Another thing, how about not having the self-destruct button somewhere that a 9-year-old can press it? It just made sense. But he was kind in telling me why. So I go inside. The house is dark and it's just mom's in bed and it's just my brother on the couch next to me. And I'm sitting there and they walk out the back door to get in the ship and go away. And they said nothing. And I said to Sean, wait a minute, what was that? Who were they? What just happened to us? And Sean stretched and yawned. He was like, right? Oh, really? And I said, we have to talk about this. Don't fall asleep. We have got to talk about this. And he said, I'm just too tired. And he laid on the couch next to me and he was out. And I sat there and I don't remember anything else until suddenly, sometime later, I don't know how long, I hear my dad swearing. He comes in the kitchen door, flips on the entire house. There's not a light on in the house. And he's like, God damn it. Where is everybody? And he flicks on the kitchen light, the dining room light, and then the living room light. And I'm sitting there, sitting up, asleep. And he jumped. He's like, oh, what the hell are you doing? Sitting there in the dark. What's wrong with you? Where's your mother? And I said, she's upstairs. She's asleep. Has she been drinking? Huh? Has she been drinking? And I know enough to, one reason, to cover for mom, and she wasn't drinking. I said, no. She had a headache and she laid down for a bit. Well, Jesus Christ. And he's thundering up the stairs. He's coming home from work. He expected dinner. And,
Yeah.
that was the deal. And so I was like, Rose, what are you doing? Why are you asleep? Get up. Where's my dinner? Where's my dinner? And she wakes up and she's like, oh my God, Bob, I'm so sorry. I laid down. I wasn't feeling good. I'm sorry. I'll get it going right now. She comes down the stairs, sobbing, upset at herself, at being yelled at and screamed at for the crime of coming home from an abduction and being put to sleep.
Yeah.
And she
And
goes
not
into the
being able
kitchen.
to be honest about it.
She's fumbling for pans and crying. And that was my day and his day and her day.
I just don't know what to say. It's just absolutely shocking.
And, it was not the first time when we had to cover for each other. Or there was excuses to be made because they took us so goddamned much, so frequently for so many years. And they cover the memories, but, they cover the horror and the shock, but you're still left with the feeling.
Sure, deep inside you, it still affects you.
And you feel it, and
Yeah.
you're at school the next day, you go, what's wrong with me? But you feel it, and it's in the part of you that they surgically removed, covered. I feel it in the parts of me that were missing. That's a weird thing to live with through your whole life.
Yeah, and
Do you feel any connection with them?
Listen, if they walked in this door, I would make a connection with them right in the nose.
No. I mean, do you feel any kind of psychological connection? The implants that they put into you. Do you think they're tracking and have any kind of control with those?
well, they certainly track you with it, and you can, at times they will communicate just telepathically from a distance, but It's rare for me anyway. I try to avoid it, but
Yeah.
why, you know,
Yeah. Why push it? Why bring it up?
but I have. And, sometimes they answer, and sometimes they'll be the one to instigate it. And, a couple of times it's been, you know, helpful.
During the period when I was getting taken a lot, roughly the Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter administration, you get a feeling, something weird. You just feel something and you go to the window for no real reason. And then you look out and there is a ship coming. And whenever a ship came, one time a ship came and then there were two short grays on the ground. And this is what my thought was. Whew, I hope this doesn't have anything to do with me. Always like this hope. You too, Sean? You're nodding.
Oh yeah, that's the exact same deal.
Yeah, I hope this doesn't have anything to do with me. As soon as I thought that, the two short grays turned their heads in unison and stare at me. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go again.
And yeah.
It's,
My gosh.
whatever connection there was, once we got our memories back, they haven't, it's different for him, but I don't think they've come near me. I think they know I'm making a lot of noise and they don't want to pick me up. And guess what? They just took me and now I've got the secret plans.
However, they're so good at what they do. We didn't know it before it either. And just because we remembered earlier on, doesn't mean we're going to remember everything that happens from that point forward. So it's very possible that, and I do have some more recent memories, of course. Well, not of course, but I do. And he doesn't.
I think they stopped taking me. However, they took in 2021, they kidnapped my girlfriend after she left my house at about 11 p.m. They followed her. It's about a 20-mile ride to the next city of Amsterdam, and it's all rural, and there's nobody. And they took her. And the funny thing is, her name is Jen. I never told her about this. I have to be in a real relationship. Look, if you don't like the girl you're dating, here's a good way out. Tell her you're being kidnapped by aliens. They'll run for the door. Too creepy. But I never told them, all right? And then we were really getting close, and we'd been together maybe 6 months. And all of a sudden, after that night, I didn't hear from her. I tried calling. I hope you got home safe last night. Give me a call if you feel like it. And then eventually it's like, I don't know what happened. I'm sure it's my fault, but I really like you if you want to call me back. And I heard nothing for more than a month. And then she said, I really want you in my life. So can I come over? I said, of course. I said, you know what? These relationships are so fragile. I'm going to open up with her. I'm going to tell her I'm an abductee. She already left. So what's the worst you can do? Put her coat on and go again? And I said, listen, I never told her this. And I told her. And she looked at me and her eyes got so wide, you see the whites all around it. And her face was in like this in disbelief. And she stopped me and she said, who told you? Who told me what? Were you talking to my roommate? Who told you? And I said, what do you mean? She said, I stopped talking to you because on the way home from your house, there was a spaceship that was following me. She said, on the dark road, I was the only vehicle, and I thought it was one of those 18-wheelers that are all lit up, with the orange lights, the purple lights, the big rig Mack trucks that they deck out. So that's what it was. But it was gaining on me fast. And when it got closer, I saw the shadow. It was casting on the road. It was in the air. It was not on the ground.
Yeah.
It was in the air, and it was a spaceship. It was a flying saucer. And I step on the gas, and it keeps gaining. And she said, I was swearing, crying, and praying, completely in a panic. And then it was right over me. I could see it was over me. And I said, then what happened? And she said, I think it must have gone away, because the next thing I know, I was actually pulling into my driveway, which was, 15 miles away. I'm like, I don't know how, but I was pulling in the driveway and I forgot all about it. And I went in and I went to sleep. And I said to her, look, I don't want to ruin this newly reformed relationship, but they took you. It didn't just go off. And she dealt with it. And it was one of the few relationships where I was let a deep breath out, honest with her about who I am.
Mm.
I've always lived
Mm.
a double life. You don't talk about it.
Yeah.
They don't want
Yeah.
to hear it. So yeah, and then of course, and
Do you feel better now that you can talk openly about it? Is it helping you guys?
yeah, I do. When we do these, if it goes well, I feel a catharsis afterwards. And you know what happens? Either
Yeah.
the host or a call-in guest will go, these two just mentioned a detail I never told anybody. The same
Mhm.
exact detail. And when we get confirmation like that, it makes
Yeah.
me feel really, really good.
Yeah.
So
You've
yeah, I
said
mean
lots
that.
of things today that I've heard off different people, Chris.
But yes, they've been taking Sean this whole time. I don't think they took me after that 96 day. I don't. They could have. Um, there were a couple close calls. Sean came over in his police uniform and came up to see me in the middle of the night. And he sat down in my living room with me. And all of a sudden, right above my tin roof carriage house, whoa, 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 louder and louder. And we knew.
There was no question what it was. I mean,
Yep.
one other motorized, whatever it is, 5 feet above your roof here.
The roof was vibrating. It was right over, it didn't go anywhere.
Uh,
Phil and I looked at each other. I think I said, are we going to?
Yeah, he suggested I go take a look. And I knowing them, I think they were waiting for one or the other of us, and they were growing impatient. They don't like to wait around. And it was kind of their way of tooting the horn, like, why don't you come on outside? I don't think they wanted to come in with the
right.
both of us. I don't know. I'm not certain,
Kick their asses.
but that's kind of the impression I got with.
Oh, and before we go anywhere else, Sean has to tell him about another event that took place while you were on duty, on shift.
Yeah, well, I was on shift for that as well, but this one was probably the more interesting, one of the more interesting ones. On shift late at night, I lived in the same area that I patrolled. So if it was late and quiet, I would stop home for a few minutes, have a drink, what have you. Uh, and this night I did. I had a circular driveway. I pulled in, and then I've got a long courtyard before you get to the front door. And in that courtyard is an open portion of the roof. The portion of the roof is open, a portion is covered. And as I was walking to the front door, I see 3 UFOs flying from the north to the south over my head. And it's instant panic. You could just, the
Yeah.
butterflies in your stomach, I can almost feel them right now. But they kept going. And I was like, whew, it's instant relief.
Mm.
And then one that they were flying in a formation with one in the front and kind of like a V formation. And the one on the left side, which would be the east side, it just does a U-turn. It doesn't come directly back in a straight line, stop and come right back. It makes like U-turn as if it was a car. And instantly I knew it was coming back for me. And it was, even though I've dealt with them so many times, and as a child, I would sometimes even be excited that they would come.
Mm.
It can still panic you, when they show up.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a different thing. I mean, it's frightening. Initially anyway.
And especially because you're coherent, you're awake, you're not under
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
mind
and
control yet.
a
You're
lot of our incidents aren't, we're sleeping. It's not sleep paralysis. A lot of these are
Mm.
awake. We've got multiple ones that were witnessed, or we were with certain people who saw a portion of the events. It's not just the 96 one, but with this one, it makes a U-turn, and I make a beeline for the door, and I got to get my key, and I open the screen door, and I fumble with the key to open the front door, and I trip on the way into the house. And I just remember being like flat on my rear end, and I got my gun out, and I'm pointing it in that direction. And there's a tall gray alien there at the end of the courtyard where the driveway is.
And so you're pointing your service automatic pistol at a gray alien at point blank range, a tall gray.
Well, he's maybe 15 feet away or
Isn't
so.
that point blank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never knew. I'm not a cop.
Yeah.
So that's got to be one of the.
How did he react, Sean?
I remember when you're going to love his reaction. But anyway, I also remember like my feet being like caught in the screen door. I remember kicking at it, and it would keep closing at me.
I think that he was using that screen door to close on your feet and keep you from getting inside, so they don't have to enter a house with an armed man in it and bring him out. I think they were tripping you up by slamming that door on your feet. How many times? This was our grandmother's house. We've gone in that screen door and front door 1,000 times. But this time it closes on his legs and he's on his ass.
I had never thought about it, but yeah, that's a possibility for sure.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And what his reaction was he was incredibly offended. He said, "Well, if you're going to be like that," and he turned around and started walking back towards his craft, which was somewhere off to the side here that I couldn't see, like in front of the garage.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I got up, holstered up, and I remember like reaching out, chasing after him, reaching out with my left arm, saying, "No, no, 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 no," like apologetically.
You chased after him.
And that's
apologizing.
and that's all I remember about that.
Alex, if we were making things up, the story wouldn't have gone like that. It would have been, I unload my revolver, zoom, zoom, and he waves his hands with, magic rays and disintegrates the bullet. And I scream like Bruce Willis in slow motion, "Yippee-ki-yay, alien! Yippee-ki-gray!" We're not making it, but yippee-ki-gray. But instead, what happens? He just reaches into Sean's mind and he makes him apologetic. Sorry he did that. I do think it's interesting that he walked away pretty quickly, offended. I think there might, only Sean would know. I think there was a moment there.
It's hard to say. I don't know, but
He was vulnerable.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened, to be honest with you. I'm really glad I didn't fire the weapon at him.
And you have other. What if you don't hit him and you come back on your shift?
Yeah, and
your
there's
pistol is smoking.
Yeah, my police car was behind him. What if there's a nice
You shot your own police
45
car.
round in the engine block?
Yeah,
They're going to be able to tell that it came from my gun. What story do I make up now? I have to make up some story that.
Could you imagine it?
It's like, sure.
Could you imagine it?
And say, "Oh yeah, don't worry, Chief. It was a gray alien. I chased them off. You won't see him on my block again for at least another 24 hours."
And the chief's like, "Tall gray or short gray?"
Yeah.
Tall gray. Wow.
Yeah.
We call it a 115.
Yeah.
You'd have been going on a long holiday, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In in a tight rubber room with a jacket.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, unbelievable. Yeah.
As you
I don't remember them taking off.
Well, you're not waving at the ship. Sorry.
Next time.
And getting into your cop car.
Yeah, I don't remember anything after that point.
How did they know that you wouldn't receive a call?
I don't know. I don't know whether they control that or they just know. I do know they know the future. The one time the guy warned or told me, and there was another time they indicated they knew the future, told me not to go somewhere.
I'll tell you what, these beings, they're different gravy, aren't they? They are much more advanced than us, by the sound of it.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
it's not just technology, it's their natural abilities are so much more
Yeah.
advanced. And that's what a lot of people have trouble with. You know, sure, they've got these spaceships that are incredible, but there's no way they're walking through a wall. Not my wall,
I
No?
built this wall.
you know.
Double plaster.
You know, they do.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing to think that they can manipulate molecules like that. And,
Yeah,
So
you know,
can he?
yeah, and
Apparently.
what are we lying
Yeah.
about? We're lying about being vulnerable and helpless against these
Yeah.
beings. It's not like we're lying that we're in charge
Heroes.
of them. Yeah, we've knocked their heads together and
Like
you saved Earth.
Yeah, we saved Earth.
You know,
You're welcome, Alex. Tell your dad he's welcome.
who's gonna brag about the end?
But
Team America.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's something. I mean, did we answer your dad's question, by the way?
yeah. As far as they
They never
Yeah,
told us.
you did.
they didn't tell us.
You
they're all
did.
about
You
secrets.
did.
I don't know about their home life because let's say this is a
Just having
military,
look now.
right? Let's say it's a military
Yeah.
operation with a ranking system. Well, if you see a military operation of Americans, you don't see their wives and their children and their pets. You know, it's all business, a cadre of them. So I don't know if they have
Yeah.
family lives, but I do know that the Greys are not big on love. It's nothing but trouble. They're against the nuclear family. Everyone belongs to the state. They don't like, oh, how's your wife doing? No, they're not big on love as we understand it.
That's a
And they
great
won't tell you-
answer. Do you think that's why they're so fascinated with us and why they want to do the hybridization program? Because they want to have a little bit of that. Because I think humans are quite special in that regard. I know we can be a
Yeah.
violent species, quite very tribal, but we're also very loving as well.
They're not
I'm wondering if
concerned.
that is what is interesting them.
They don't give a rat's ass about humans, okay? When they take you, they're not like, oh, tell us about your God. Tell us about your family. Tell us what's important to you. Tell us your favorite Beatle. They don't give a rat's ass what you have to think. And if they want to know what you think, they'll pull it out of your head. Their purpose is to use us to create aliens that look completely human that they can put in our society and hide in plain sight and live here
Right.
and defecate and have sex. They're in human bodies, but they're still aliens. If you ask me, and you know, we both have had different experiences, and to me, the tall Greys have told me, soon we will all live here together and everyone will know his place. They're moving in. They're not visitors. Next time someone
That's
calls them to
chilling,
visit,
that is.
correct them, because visitors are invited and visitors leave.
Know when to go home.
They know when to go home. They've been here 80 years.
Mm.
They haven't moved an inch. They're creating hybrids. I met my hybrid, and they're infiltrating society. This, I don't know if you want to use the word invasion or takeover or planetary acquisition, but I'm certain this isn't the first world that they've expanded their empire to.
Yeah.
And that's,
There's trillions of stars.
yeah. What do they come here for? To perplex us and, and to just check us out physiologically. The amount of money and resources they've expended to get here and to stay here for 80 years.
And I can't believe, how is it worth their their time and energy and resources to come get kids again and again and again. The number of times every time they come and get me, it's 3 of them plus the craft. It's their time and energy, and why is it so
Right.
worth it?
Like, commander of all grays, we request a battalion to approach Earth in a dimension some other places away. Well, what are you going to do there? We're going to kidnap some toddlers. What? What are toddlers? Well, they're little. They're like, it doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is acquisition of resources. And we've both discussed, Sean and I, like, why are they taking me at 3? Why are they taking you at 3? They're going to ask us how much we love Winnie the Pooh. Is that what they're taking us for? I think it might be this. They're getting us used to them being an authority. They're making us used at a very early age to these beings being in control. And because I think they intend to be here for our lives. And this way we're not freaking out.
And if a child tells their parent, "Oh, it's a child's had a nightmare."
That's a good point. And furthermore, there could be a thing like they adjust us surgically to make us more compatible with hybridization. I don't know. There's certainly a lot of medical procedures they did on me before I ever got to the age of producing good, high quality American sperm. So, they're not picking up for sexual reasons at that age. I'm sorry, did I say that patriotically? Good old, I'm not gonna. So I think they're getting us used to being an authority figure in our lives and being a regular thing.
At least, if not that, it's at least as a child, I think a child is going to get used to something. Like, everything's new to a child. So, like, when I was that first incident, excuse me, we had in 74, I didn't know enough to be afraid of it. So, if I'm 35, when the first time I see one, it's
You're going to run for your garden, right?
It's going to shatter
That's
my reality.
That's a different story, isn't it? Then, because you've formed opinions and you know what the world's about. Children are so innocent. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's just so much to take in.
Yes. Well,
it
Alex,
really is.
listen, I had you on the hook for over 3 hours, and you were a champion.
Yeah.
But we can talk some other time. There is much.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Believe it or not,
Yeah,
we've gotten to maybe half of the important things.
I would love to do this again if you guys would like to do this again. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I'll tell you about meeting my hybrid and
came and investigated her.
I'll tell you about the time I met a mantis and he threatened to kill my parents and then he threatened to kill my dog.
That's not good, is it?
It was not good. It was double plus ungood.
No. Did you know that Bud Hopkins was an artist as well, like you, Chris?
Well, yes, yeah, we did, because he was at our house. We had dinner with him, drank some wine.
Yeah.
He told tales that would curl your hair.
Yeah.
And yes, he was a expressionist started. But you know what? He was drafted into the army for the human race. He put his art on hold to focus on what was going on with us. He wasn't getting paid.
Yeah.
He wasn't
$300
and I'll hypnotize you. No, he was a man. He was a defender of people. And I know he had an ex-wife who caused trouble for him. But that man was selfless. He came up on his own dime. And thank God, he was able to get things out of Dad.
Yeah.
That Dad had just kept to himself for decades.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for Bud Hopkins. And you know what else he did? He
mentioned us on CNN.
Yes, he did. And he called it ours.
An important case.
An important case. And
yours is an important case.
He said that. Yeah. He gave me the confirmation I needed. Okay. I was no longer at war with myself and what was real. So I'm grateful for him. And it's a shame he's gone.
I think the Virginia case, the Ariel School case, and your case are my top three.
In reverse order, I hope.
Wow.
Absolutely. Because, well, I mean, the Virginia thing is, there's some good evidence there,
Yeah.
and there is first-hand evidence, but nothing like yours. Nothing like yours. You've been aboard the craft.
Yeah.
That's it.
Many times, and the crafts are all different. Yeah,
Many-
we've got a lot of conversations that a lot of abductees don't remember.
We have dialogue of conversations. We have descriptions of the great, and we would like the opportunity, if we get together again, to correct the record on a lot of things that people with no experience believe the Greys to be. Not robots or avatars or AI or any of that. They're not robotic. They're not emotionless by any means. I've never seen one laugh for 10 minutes at a joke, but they have a wide range of emotions. And the
They can have a bad day.
Yeah. Here's the difference between us and the Varginha case in Brazil and the school is that this was the Greys, and the Greys are what you have to pay attention to. The Varginha aliens, they ended up in the back of a cop car. Okay. So this is not them. These are the problem. They've been at this 80 years, and they are the aliens that you need to be concerned about. So I appreciate that.
That's very flattering.
It's a big compliment, Alex.
Yeah.
And
well, I appreciate you. It's been a wonderful conversation. I really do appreciate it.
You're very
thank
welcome.
you so much, guys.
Yes, Alex. Talk to you very soon, sir. God bless.